Feel like 30 seconds.
No. Was it 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Jesus, we do go on.
Good evening and welcome to Tom Clifford Park ahead of this Energia All-Ireland League Round 9 fixture. Unbeaten Terenure faced off against a rejuvenated young Munster side who have won 3 on the bounce. Terenure will finish top at Christmas, but will they finish undefeated, or can the Cookies claim a scalp to be firmly in the top 4 hunt come April? Joined this afternoon by no strangers to Greenfields or the Energia All-Ireland League in general, Mr Dan Mooney and Ger Burke. Dan Mooney, first off, the buzz surrounding the Energia All-Ireland League in Greenfields in the last couple of weeks has been quite something.
It's been buzzing across 5 divisions, but here, it's been particularly strong. Really purple patch for young Munsters. Start of the season a little bit iffy, but the last 3 games, a massive local derby, bonus point win against Shannon, turning over Trinity up there, considering the rugby Trinity are playing and how strong they are all around the park, and the victory against Clontarf, which, for last season, kind of a bit of a revenge for something that went on down here last season in a bit of a drubbing at the hands of Tarf. So yeah, the buzz is great, it's brilliant, and it's great that the game can go ahead today, given the weather conditions and all of that jazz. Kind of a question mark about it up until this morning, but great to see it going ahead and going to see a great game, I think.
Berkey, 4:45pm kickoff today. You've been a fan of 5pm kickoffs. You were at Highfield and UCC last week. It's a no-brainer in your opinion?
Absolutely. Everything we do at the moment is to be about getting people through the gates. 4:45 is excellent. People get dropped here, they don't drive. Talking to a couple of buddies of mine that would have played in the All-Ireland League, get things done with the kids and the wife, Christmas shopping out of the way, in for 4:45, watch a good game of rugby and a couple of points. Anything we can do to improve the gates is just tenfold. You've got to go there. I thought Friday Night Lights was the answer, to be honest with you. By sheer accident, we were here in Frolls for Gary Owen, 5 o'clock kick-off, roaring success. Absolutely roaring success. Thomond Park last week, same thing, roaring success. I was talking, in fairness to Highfield, they get a fantastic crowd in. Do they need to change much? Probably not. Fix what isn't broken. But I said, there was 4 other games on in Cork. I think they could have doubled the gate. There's no club that can't do it having over 1,000 people in. It just does wonders for everyone involved in club rugby to see those kind of crowds. I think the pictures from Thomond Park last week were heartwarming, and I'm hoping this evening that we're going to see 700 plus here. That's what it's about.
Yeah, last Saturday was phenomenal. I was at the match, and to see the entire... I thought for a minute that it was going to be stand only, and in the stand you obviously got kind of dilutes the atmosphere a little bit, but the terrace was open, the buzz inside there was brilliant. Local derby match, packed up. It was outstanding. It was really call back to the old days of All Ireland League rugby and Limerick derbies. Loads of people there, everyone celebrating. It was excellent. Really, really good occasion.
What's becoming commonplace across Division 1A is that we're seeing 1,000 people at games. You're seeing it in Terenure, Lakelands week in, week out. You're seeing it in Tarf. You're seeing it close to here for the Gary Owen game, the Shannon game. Well in excess of 2,000 last week. That is just what we need. It hasn't been the case.
Let's get to the reason why there are big crowds going to these games. The game today, Berkey, you've had a look at Terenure's team. The quality that we've seen, we spoke to Stevie O'Neill and Harrison Brewer during the week. Terenure are probably the best they've been coaching-wise and player-wise for you in the last number of years?
Absolutely, they're the team to beat. It's kind of almost a carbon copy of what Corkon did a few years ago. They come close, but realise they can improve. They bring a guy like Paul Barr in the background. They have just become an all-round. We spoke in Lansdowne a couple of weeks ago about being, the all-round team. They could throw the ball around, but their set piece was immaculate. Probably doesn't get enough credit for what Lansdowne did for years, how good their set piece was. Terenure have come in this year. They throw the ball around, phenomenal athletes, phenomenal ball players, attacking rugby, but their set piece has probably been the best, just short of Tarfs as well. They're the complete package, sitting top of the table and deservedly so. What's worrying is that I speak to Paul Barr quite regularly, and speaking to lads involved, they still think they can get better, and they're out to get better. The fact they're winning isn't enough. They want to improve all the time, and that's a scary prospect.
Dan, a young Munsters fan through and through, you will remain impartial today.
Absolutely,
three wins,
100%.
three wins on the bounce. What are young Munsters going to need to do well today? How important is that? Is it particularly a fast start for them to make sure that they give Terenure a nice Limerick welcome?
Yeah, as mentioned by Harrison Brewer in the podcast during the week, this is in the old school young Munsters, as people remember, a strong set piece, a big pack. There are attacking threats in the back three. There are midfielders. There's an outstanding combo at 9 and 10. So Munsters can play ball out the back, but I think that the very start of the game, the first 10 minutes, it's going to have to be a bit of physical dominance. They're going to have to front up, get stuck in, carry tight, and soften up that Terenure, make Terenure really work to get their hands on the ball, make them work to bring players down, try and push that a little bit, so as the Terenure know they're in a fight and they're not looking 2 steps ahead at attacking. They're going to have to deal with young Munsters on young Munster terms rather than young Munsters giving them the ball. And then of course you can't make a mistake against this Terenure team. For 80 minutes you can't.
Intriguing indeed. We're about 15 minutes away from kick-off. There's full live commentary and analysis coming with Mr. Mooney and Mr. Burke, but I caught up with Gearóid Prendergast and Sean Skehan a little earlier on. Gearóid Prendergast, 3 wins from 3 league leaders in town. What are your team going to have to do well today to beat Terenure?
Look, I think that we're going to have to be on the money in every facet of the game. Terenure quality side, they've proven that. Both sides of the ball. Very strong on it and equally as strong defensively, so I think with a team like Terenure from minute one we're going to have to be on the ball, keep that penalty count low, hold on to high levels of possession and then try and get into the game and get off to a good start. Some teams lately have pushed them, but as you can see they have that resilience and they're closing games out, so look, they're number one for a reason, and they've been very impressive this season.
Your squad is extremely strong today. Competition for places, you must be very happy with where you are at the moment.
Yeah, of course, it's like any good side, you're going to have that quality, and guys are chomping at the bit. There's a lot of disappointed players there, but the guys that are in there now are performing, and as I keep saying every week, it's week on week, so if they don't perform, naturally they're going to have to be replaced. So they're going well, and look, that quality is there, so it's taken a couple of years to get there, and that competition is really breeding a high level of standard and training as well.
Sean Skehan, 8 from 8 and top of the table in Division 1A of the Energia All-Ireland League. A tough assignment awaits. What's been the message to your team ahead of the game?
Just really excited for it. Obviously, Cookies have gone on a great run. Really good team out today. A couple of Munster fellas, so great opportunity, great challenge for us. They're probably the form team with us. They've beaten Tarf and Trinity the last few weeks. And the way the AIL works, we play the team that they play the week after, so I've watched them all season, so I know they're really, really good. Just delighted the game's going ahead. Really, really looking forward to what I'm sure will be a really, really competitive fixture, but we'd love to run the table for this half of the season, but we'll be put to the test today, no doubt.
A last minute win against Trinity last weekend. We spoke to Harrison Brewer and Stevie O'Neill during the week, saying that they can't wait to get the break coming in. The bodies are a little bit sore ahead of today's game.
Yeah, I think for everybody it's the same. The blocks of 3 really put it up to you, particularly when you're in a tough block. And I know Cookies, I think, have Con next week in the Munster Senior Cup semi-final, so Jesus, they've had the Shannon Derby, they've had Trinity, they've had Tarf, and now ourselves, and then going into Con, so whatever we're feeling, I'd say it's worse for them. So look, it'll be fine. Lads are looking forward to it. Just didn't want the game to go to next week. That was obviously the risk today with the weather. So fair play to young Munsters to get it ready. And I know DuPont and the lads were thawing the pitch for us earlier on. So fair play to Toulouse as well.
Cheers, Sean. Good luck today.
Cheers.
Good evening and welcome to Tom Clifford Park for this meeting of Terenure College and Young Munsters. We're about 12 minutes away from kick-off, but before we get to those, we have a roundup of results in today's Energia All-Ireland League. 14 games in total were called off this afternoon, but the games that went ahead in Division 1A of the Energia All-Ireland League, Clontarf were bonus point 36 points to 10 winners over Garryowen in Castle Avenue. this afternoon, so very well done to them and their ground staff for making that game go ahead. Ballynahinch against UCD was postponed, Dublin University and Cork Constitution was postponed, Lansdowne and Shannon, the Aviva Stadium, was also postponed, and as I said, Young Munsters and Terenure College will kick off at 4:45 in 11 minutes time. Moving to Division 1B of the Energia All-Ireland League, Banbridge and Old Wesley was postponed due to the weather, as was Malone and City of Armagh, due to take place in Gibson Park. Naas had a big win before the Christmas break, 24 points to 21 against Buccaneers. That game was moved to Tullow RFC instead of 4-0 there, so well done to Naas. A great win for them before the break. St Mary's College and Highfield was also postponed in Dublin, as was UCC and Old Belvedere in the Mardyke in Cork. Moving to Division 2A of the Energia All-Ireland League, the games that were postponed: Ballymena and Queens, Cashel and Blackrock also fell victim to the weather. Dolphin were beaten 31 points to 28 by Old Crescent. A big win for Old Crescent there, which sees them outside the relegation zone as they head into Christmas. Nina Ormond and Navan was also called off. That was scheduled to be played in New Ormond Park, and UL Bowes and Barnhall also called off in Anacotty this afternoon. In Energia All-Ireland League Division 2B, Corinthians won the Connacht Derby 24 points to 7 against Sligo. Belfast Harlequins and Malahide was postponed. Galwegians with their first win of the season, a resounding 41 points to 18 win against Enniscorthy in Crowley Park. Well done to Brendan Gilfoyne and Shane O'Brien there on their first win of the season. Greystones were 20 points to 19 winners over Wanderers, which means they will go in top and unbeaten as we head in towards the Christmas break. And Rainey Old Boys and Dungannon was postponed. In Division 2C of the Energia All-Ireland League, Clonmel were 26 points to 5 winners over Sunday as well in the Munster Derby. In Ardguia, Middleton and Bruff was postponed. Omagh Academicals were beaten 42 points to 15 by high-flying Instonians, who will finish top at Christmas. Skerries were 27 points to 20 winners over Bangor, and Tullamore and Ballina was postponed. Those are the roundups of all 5 leagues in the Energia All-Ireland League. We will bring you updates of the Women's Conference final this afternoon between Wicklow and Galwegians in Ashtown Lane. But for now, we will return to Greenfields, where I'm delighted to say I am joined by Mr. Dan Mooney and Ger Burke. Gentlemen, you're both very welcome. Dan, the team's warming up in front of us. It's building nicely before kick-off.
Yeah, building nicely. The thing to worry about, I think, is the fog that's starting to come down. So as the sun goes down, light declines, there's a kind of a fog settling in, the temperature's dropping, and I think that is probably going to play an impact late in the second half of this game at some point as that closes in and the temperatures drop. But yeah, there's a sense of excitement about it. Young Munster have gone really well lately. I've done great things on the road against Trinity, great win here against Clontarf, and a huge win against Shannon last week. So they are on a bit of a roll, but this is the team to beat. All bar one of their victories this season has been a bonus point win. Terenure are now the benchmark for Division 1A. So if you want to be in the mix for that top 4, Young Munsters are going to have to do the job today.
Young Munster's team line out as follows. As we said, kick-off is at 4:45. David Begley, Dan Walsh and Conor Bartley make up the front row. Tom Goggin and Owen O'Connor in the engine room, with Captain Alan Kennedy at 6. Ronan O'Sullivan at open side, and Bailey Falloon completes the back row at number 8. Jack Lyons and Evan Cusack line out as half backs. Conor Phillips, Conor Hayes and Shane McCarthy the back 3, with a certain Dan Goggin and Fionn Gibbons in the centre. The bench lines out with Chris Moore, George Jacobs, Paulo Lacey Wow, Sean Rigney, Donegal Callan and Harry Fleming. Dan Mooney, there is quite a squad to look there. If there was a player or player or two you'd have to say is very important for you Munsters today, who would it be?
It's hard to look past Dan Walsh or Alan Kennedy. I mean, the absolute powerhouses last week. They were huge, both of them, defensively and particularly with the ball in hand. The carrying out of Dan Walsh was just like power carrying, 2 and 3 guys hanging off him. He's just such a dynamic. He's short to the ground, but he's really mobile and really strong carrier. I think he's the one to watch for me.
Terenure College line out as follows: Marcus Hannon, Sean McNulty and Adam Chute in the front row. Captain Harrison Brewer packs down with Mick Melia in the second row. Adam Melia is the second member of the Melia family, with Luke Closey and Conal Boomer, who's in fine form in the back row. Alan Benny and the in-form Callum Smith make up the half-backs. Craig Adams, Stephen O'Neill and Adam Legrew the back three, with Caelan Dooley and Colm de Butler in the centre for Terenure. John McKee, Andrew Keating, Mike Murphy, Jordan Coughlin, James Thornton and Sam Coughlin-Murray make up the replacements for Terenure College. Berkey, we spoke in pre-match. This is one hell of a team, and there's reason to believe why they're top of the league.
Absolutely. I suppose the informed player there is probably Conal Boomer, a guy that came on last year and caused havoc off the bench in the latter part of the season. Kind of a lot of people scratching their head as to why he wasn't a starter. Has been absolutely phenomenal. Played for Leinster recently against Chile, picked up a Man of the Match award, slotting in at number 8. I think it speaks volume to the form he's in, and Terenure when you've a guy like Jordan Coughlin back from injury and they've only found a place him on the bench. In saying that, Jordan Coughlin's going to have a big impact. With 30 to go, they're going to unleash him. Big man, a lot of experience. He's going to bring a lot of football, a lot of physicality in the latter parts of the game. We've got to think it's an absolutely perfect evening for rugby here. There's a puff of wind. There shouldn't be an issue with line-out, and I'm looking forward to an absolute roiler.
You mentioned the set piece there, Berkey. This is Terenure's third trip to Limerick, a resounding win on day one for Terenure against Shannon, and a bonus point win against Garryowen in round 3. A much more difficult prospect lies in wait. The set piece is going to be a key battle today.
Absolutely. Look, I anticipate it'll probably be a bit null and void for the first 30 minutes. I think it'll be a stalemate at scrum and maul. I don't think either side are going to give an inch. But in saying that, there will be hours upon hours of work on in during the week to make sure it is a stalemate there. 10 minutes to go in the first half and about 20 minutes to go in general, you're going to see, hopefully, well, from my point of view, Cookies get on top, or from Terenure's point of view, that they get to squeeze the scrum or maul time. But I'd anticipate early doors it's going to be just stalemate, tit for tat, two very well drilled packs.
Dan Mooney, we were speaking to plenty of supporters on the way into the ground earlier on. Festive cheer is definitely for after the game, but what kind of game are you expecting yourself this evening?
It's hard to call. I mean, both these teams can play either style. I mean, you can look at the power that both teams have in the pack, and you can look at that as a slugfest for the opening 10-15 minutes of the game. But there are attacking threats from the back three. There are potential try scorers in the centres. Both teams have it. It's a case of who's going to get the tactics right.
Look, to be honest, last year there were probably two games when they played each other. They weren't the best spectacles. Probably two games for the purists. Two teams that kind of stopped one another. Two low-scoring affairs. Hopefully we get a bit more free-flowing rugby today, but it's going to be technical, tactical, physical. I don't see this being, 35-32 kind of game. It's going to be 2-3 scores.
Well, do stay tuned in if you are. I must say this
as I said, it's a game for the purists, Paul. It's a game for nerds like us.
This is a Club Scene podcast co-production with the IRFU. As we said, kick-off fast approaching in about 4 minutes' time. Berkey, I want to come to you on the fact that Terenure have blown teams away early in the season. They're 8 from 8. We pinpointed their win against Trinity 24-21. A couple of changes that were there, but you were involved with Young Munsters last season. Coming into round 9 of the Energy All-Ireland League, what are the bodies like for the players?
What is really impressive about Cookies this year that's different to last year. Last year we played UCD in round 9 and we'd a Senior Cup semi-final the following week, went to Highfield, and we were just trying to get to the end, get to the Christmas break. We'd obviously had the COVID Senior Cup played late in the summer, and it was just, guys were exhausted. Cookies have rotated very well this year. We've keeping injuries at bay for this part. We've guys coming back, and they look an awful lot fresher than they were this time last year, and that's important. I think I've people are sick of hearing me say it, but if Cookies have a full team on the pitch, they'll take on anyone in the country.
Dan, the last 3 games that your Munsters have played, a 24-13 win against Clontarf in round 6, a win last minute against Trinity, which saw you jumping for joy, and a resounding Limerick Derby win last week. There is no doubt there is a step up here with the league leaders coming in, but what's impressed you the most with your Munster side in the last 3 games?
Yeah, it's a depth thing, it's a squad depth thing. Now, in terms of what's happening on the pitch, we'll get to that, but in terms of what Young Munsters have been doing consistently all season, staying injury free for the most part, and any one of the players on the bench last week against Shannon, and in fact this week, could be starting for Young Munster next week. That's the kind of depth that they have and the kind of quality that they can bring into the squad. So if you can keep those guys fit, then this is the kind of consistency that they can get out of games week on week. But this is where you have to be, because you look at Terenure's team, you look at Terenure's bench, you know that most of these players will walk onto a lot of Division 1A squads. You just need that depth in this division now.
We heard Harrison Brewer during the week on the podcast saying they've got 45 guys training on a Tuesday night. It's incredible. That's the key to winning leagues. The con teams, the Landowners, the Tarfs that have lifted trophies in recent years, it's been the best squads, not the best teams, the best squads that have won the trophy.
Terenure are out on the pitch in front of us. Berkey, what will be the final messages in your opinion that will be being said without the expletives, please?
It's got to be physical. We can't wait we can't have a slow start. If you do, you'll find yourself 14-0 down before you know what hit you. But it's got to be physical. Cookies have to set the pace physically. They have to set the tone there and allow Terenure rise to that. If it's the other way around, it could be a long evening.
Dan, before young Munsters come out, most impartial, your prediction for today's game?
It's such a tight one to call with the form young Munster are in and the home advantage. That goes their way. Again, you're looking at a team in Terenure that the team to beat, 7 bonus point wins and only 1 win without a bonus point. To be honest, it's too tight to call. I'd say it's going to be won by 2 points either way. And if I, gun to my head, I'll say young Munster to sneak up by 2.
There is no gun to Dan when he said it can't be Berkey. Young Munsters, always very well attended games as they are today. How important are the crowd going to be in this game to upset Terenure?
I was actually coming up on the train a while ago and I was thinking of Dan Mooney, the real Dan Mooney Senior, and these are days that he'll relish. Guys like him, they've got to make it noisy, they've got to make it uncomfortable, and then we all go in afterwards and we have a smile and we buy each other a pint and we have a sing-song. The crowd will be very, very important. I think that's also key to the start, because Cookies have to start to get the crowd involved. And as the Irish Rugby Football Union have said, the respective officials is paramount in this, and that will be adhered to at all times. The dark arts is something, Berkey, that you would have been involved in the front five yourself over the course of the years. Just how important is it that both sides stay onside with the referee and manage maybe in the set piece to get ahead? Well, look, from a Cookies point of view, they just simply can't afford to go to 14 or God forbid 13. They just can't get side of Terenure. Keeping 15 on the field is everything. The dark arts are long gone. It's just going to be confrontational and physical battle. Unfortunately, the dark arts are long gone.
If you are tuned into this Energia All-Ireland League stream, please do use the hashtag Energia AIL and tag us on Twitter and Instagram. Evan Cusack gets ready to get us underway underneath the Limerick sky, near perfect conditions here in Greenfields. The ball is well taken by Mick Melia from the night sky. Alan Benny at halfback hits his 10, and Terenure intent on playing here to Butler on the ball, and Brewer with a lovely little line. Ball doesn't go to hand. Conal Boomer got his debut for Leinster. It was joked during the week that Leo Cullen gave him a start before Sean Skehan.
That was no accident, Frauds. That was a pre-planned that they were going to run that.
Brewer again. Smith calls for it. Carry back into the 22. The ball will remain in play, in a first opportunity for Conor Hayes here. It's his full back, Shane McCarthy. He's got Connor Phillips on his outside if he likes to use them, but McCarthy decides to have a go.
Yeah, it's a super carry from Shane McCarthy, and that's the thing, he can move fast and he can also carry ball heavy into contact. He's done really well there to make a few yards. Dan
Walsh with his low centre of gravity eking the yards, and Cusack slightly skewed high in the night sky, comes down, and it's well gathered by the Butler of Terenure, who's been excellent all season. Knock on advantage, says Kieran Barry, and Melia moves it to Smith, the former Malone man. Elusive, but it's a knock on, and we will come back for the scrum.
Yeah, I think the kicking game is going to be important. How much territory and how much field advantage you can get kicking out of hand, because it's going to be hard carrying in this cold and into heavy carries and heavy hits. Both
sets of forwards will have been talking about this all week. First scrum is paramount to set the tone early. I'm expecting good rock solid scrum. I don't think Irish are going to give an inch, but they'll have been speaking about this both Tuesday, Thursday night.
Ger Burke does love a good scrum. He's not the only
man. I absolutely love David Begley.
He's not the only man in Young Munsters that does like it. Interesting, Berkey, that Terenure did elect to play early in their 22. Is that a sign of what's to come, do you think?
Absolutely. I think that you could see that they had Harrison Brewer kept out with another back row out here. There was a pre-plan that they were going to play that. There was no accident, but in fairness, it didn't happen for him, and then went resorted to exit.
Kieran Barry gives the instructions to both packs. First scrum with 3.5 minutes on the clock here in Greenfields. The score remains scoreless. Benny with the feed. Young Munsters.
Absolutely outstanding scrum.
Oh, that's just massive. That's a massive, massive win.
It's a rock solid hit. Young Munsters look to get the pressure on. Absolutely outstanding scrum. That's silly.
That's just massive.
Can't afford to give away turnover penalties like that after massive work by the front row. But a super scrum, and in fairness to David Begley and Conor Bartley, a super start.
Kieran Barry with the reversal of the penalty there. Mick Melia and Owen O'Connor exchanging pleasantries here on the halfway line in front of us. And as Ger Burke has rightly pointed out, in order for Young Munsters to get a good foothold in the game, they can't afford to give turnovers like that, Dan Mooney.
No, it's really poor, considering it's a massive, massive win. Get that scrum against the head, really lay down a marker, and then to let discipline go like that, turn the ball over, lose 40 yards. You just can't afford to do that against a team this good.
No. I'd like to see a replay of that, Franz. I think Terenure actually looked to leave the ball into the scrum, which is interesting, but end up with the penalty, but a poor decision initially.
Caelan Dooley with the last minute winner against Trinity in Lakelands, lands Terenure outside. Harrison Brewer with the take it too, and Terenure look to have a good set on the maul as they eke forward into the Young Munsters 22. Ball is at the back in the hands of Sean McNulty, and Terenure very impressively moving forward here. Kieran Barry says the first use. The Young Munsters bench agree with that. Terenure making good yards. Benny snipes from the inside, beats Dan Walsh. A lovely little offload to McNulty. Terenure now 5 metres short. Boomer stopped by Cusack and Ronan O'Sullivan. Brewer with a carry, but Captain Alan Kennedy with a great tackle. It's a lovely little line by De Butler on the inside of Dan Goggin. Terenure traditionally around the corner. Melia with the carry. Slow ball. Benny looks to his left, but they're going to go right again, and it's Boomer. Good carry for him. Young Munsters claiming that they were over the ball, but Terenure again 6 metres in from that touchline on the right hand side. McNulty, lovely little offload to Melia there, and it's a knock on. The steam coming from the players, the temperature going up slightly, lads.
Yeah, that's a big defensive shift from Young Munster. Terenure are dangerous in with 5 metres. They've got options everywhere. Number of big carries. Boomer's done really well, carried really well in there, and Young Munster have just about managed to keep them out. They'll be pleased with that.
Quite relieved, I'd imagine, there the turnover came, because they were starting to soak tackles. A couple of chest shots there as Terenure look quite comfortable keeping the ball. They'll be disappointed with a 22 entry to come away with, well, hopefully nothing.
In terms of
the scrum here will be really important for us, though.
Yeah, in terms of the messaging, Berkey, after the scrum we saw in front of us, Terenure did elect to keep the ball in there. Is it a case of a secondary shove here from Young Munsters to really put the pressure under Terenure?
I think what will be important, if they have the nudge, absolutely, but don't force it. If they get the squeeze, absolutely go for the penalty, but not to force it. And if they'll just take rock solid set piece if that's what it is.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity, if that shove is, there's an opportunity to paint the picture for the ref and put it into the ref's head. There is a dominant scrum here, and put it in for the 80 minutes. This is the team that's winning, but it's a risk, it's a gamble if they go for it.
That's rock solid set piece there.
With the feed, and Young Munsters do get the penalty. This certainly wasn't part of the script for Terenure, Berkey, but Young Munsters in the ascendancy early on at set piece.
Yeah, no, I don't think Terenure did anything massively wrong there. Get that wrong, that's a slip. Could have easily been a reset, to be honest. Cookies did look to get the shunt on, but a slip from the front row, and he likes to go for penalty.
Lions with a superb clearance brings play up to the halfway line. Dan Mooney's mid-air and forecast of fog has come apparent in the last 10 minutes.
Manifested it.
I've learned a bit about it over the years, you know.
We will take this opportunity to say hello to everyone in Lakelands, in Terenure on the big screen, as well as in Blackrock, in Stradbrook, to Fergie McGrath, and to the Terenure supporters in Marbella. How we wish we were in the sunshine as we restart. Young Munsters with a lovely little trick play. Cusack on the ball, and it's a high hanging Gary Owen. It's between Stephen O'Neill and Dooley, and it's turnover ball, and it's Lions again. It's well read. Boomer, Ronan O'Sullivan, good footwork on the inside. O'Sullivan so elusive, and a great carry by the young back row.
He's been a superb signing this year, brought huge energy.
Begley out the back to Cusack, hands in to Dan Goggin, elects to dink it in behind, well covered on the inside.
Not sure about the decision from Dan. I think Cookies would be better if they kept the ball in hand there.
Young Munsters with Cusack inside the 22, right-legged, and it's a good clearance.
That's a massive clearing kick from
Superb.
Cusack. Really gets the most out of it there. I do think it was a poor decision from Goggin. The option wasn't on. The runners weren't expecting it, and there was cover in the backfield. I think it was just kind of a rush of blood to the head.
Both teams still feeling each other out here in Greenfield, still scoreless.
As
after-
expected, both defences on top for all as you'd expect for the first 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, we will reset with the line out for Terenure. McNulty gets ready. McMelia towering high. One of Terenure's top line out takers this season, as that maul shifts forward off the left foot. There's David Begley getting his hands in the cookie jar there. Adjudged to be offside. And Berkey, this is something that would have been spoken out before the game. Those easy penalties allowing Terenure access to Young Munster's half.
That's two lineouts in a row where Terenure have taken the ball and they've got around the corner and the back lifter and got a pivot, got a bit of a walk on. Cookies need to address that. Not dealing with the Terenure maul very effectively at the moment. That's silly from Begley.
It's one of these kind of things. We've seen it where the scrum penalty was given to Young Munster and turned over by a kind of rush of blood to the head. We've seen Begley just kind of losing his concentration and making a mistake. We've seen Dan Goggin kicking a ball that wasn't on. Those lapses in concentration are going to hurt a team over 80 minutes.
Absolutely. I think first and foremost what they have to do here then is they need to stop this maul at source. They're getting around the corner of the back lifter twice now. They need to stop this at dead.
McNulty with the dart. It's high, it's over the top, picked up by Dan Walsh. It's knocked on. There will be advantage to Terenure, and Kieran Barry calls it there. It will be a scrum. The third scrum of the afternoon. There's been 2 penalties to Young Munsters so far. Berkey, do Terenure need to take a different tact or approach to this?
No, absolutely not. I think what's interesting there, that's the first time Cookies got in the air and forced an overthrow. The other 2 lineouts, the Terenure one, they were uncontested. Interesting to see Owen O'Connor getting up, towering figure. Hooker just gets a bit of height in it. It's again Cookies just making a lot of unforced errors and bringing a lot of pressure on themselves.
Terenure lining up with Stephen O'Neill directly behind the scrum, leaving a little pocket of space on the right hand side. Callum Smith giving direction to his halfback Benny.
Conor Phillips is going to have to be sharp here because it looks as though Terenure are going to swing that way and attack his channel.
Channel 1 in the scrum. Benny
rock solid scrum
straight
again.
to Dooley, out the back to Smith. It's Legrue, little dink in behind. The ball is bouncing. It's there, and Terenure, they're in. Terenure have scored a wonderful try through Craig Adams. There's a bit of consultation between Kieran Barry. Very difficult from our commentary position to be able to see this.
That's the only part of the pitch we can't properly
But the
see.
try is awarded by Kieran Barry and Terenure. 8 from 8. Ger Burke, that was their first attack and lethal to score in the corner.
Yeah, very opportunistic. In fairness, Cookies couldn't do much about it. It's just a really, really well executed grubber kick. In fairness to Terenure, rock solid scrum to set it off. Just again, not looking for penalties, just square ball.
Yeah, it's done. It's really well executed. They've gone the other way than you would have thought.
That's a
Lovely
gorgeous
little
thing,
dink.
absolutely gorgeous thing. They get the bounce of the ball. Great effort from Dan, and it's well finished.
Interestingly, Terenure going channel 1 in the scrum there. Berkey getting straight to Boomer's feet. They loaded the left hand side, but they backed themselves and they went for it, and they've come away with 5 points minimum.
I think Cookies just need to gather themselves under the post here. Very simple. Stop giving away silly penalties and deal with the Terenure maul.
Caelan Dooley lines up this conversion. He's less than a metre in from the left touch line here in Greenfields as Hush falls around. Dooley kicked a last minute penalty to beat Trinity, 23 points to 21 in Lakelands. Right footed strike. It's a superb strike from Dooley, and it just kisses the outside of the post, but the score remains Terenure College 5, Young Munsters 0 after 11 minutes here. Dan Mooney, an interesting start, but Terenure taking their chance early on.
But this is what they do. This is why they're top of the division. Is they're such a good team. 2 visits to the 22. Young Munster did well to keep them out, force an error in the first visit. But if you let a team like this come down into your territory and move the ball, this is what's going to happen. They're going to score tries. So to a certain extent, young Munster are architects of their own downfall, but this is how good Terenure are. This is what they do with the ball. They're a very, very effective team.
Cusack restarts us, and it's a knock-on from Terenure, uncharacteristic of that.
Need to see young Munsters actually go through some phases here. They haven't really had any attacking rugby close to Terenure's 22. Most of the games have played around the halfway line. We need to see what they've got here.
In terms of their attack, Berkey, we saw when they did get a chance, we saw David Begley with a little sweep in behind Evan Cusack, and Dan Goggin did elect to go back in. Is that something that's a structured or unstructured attack in training during the week? Is it agreed before the game?
There'd be a plan obviously put together Tuesday, Thursday night by Gar and Slab, but I think they'll just play it as they see it. I think what's important here is just not to become predictable against Terenure.
Yeah, young Munster have shown they have an ability to do that, to play off the cuff and to make decisions, especially when having Cusack at 10. And when they do, it's been quite effective for them on several occasions. So there'd be no reason for them not to do it, not to trust themselves and back themselves. But they're going to have to come up with something creative, because this Terenure defence will be solid.
It's two very powerful packs there, and they hit at that scrum. It's really, really impressive. Interesting at that time it went down. Kieran Barry likes to reset this one.
The first reset of the evening as the steam
He's
rises
come over
off.
to this side to have a look. He came down on this side. He's come over to have a look now.
It is Conor Bartley on this side of the scrum for young Munsters, going up against Marcus Hannon of Terenure. Lions with the feed. Ball remains at the base. Falloon to Lions, and Goggin just short of the 22. And Terenure adjudged to have hands in the deck. There will be a penalty here and a perfect opportunity for Evan Cusack to take 3 points if they elect to do so.
Yeah, you'd have to take the 3 here. It's nailed on. No need to go in, no need to work too hard. Put 3 on the board. It's only a 2-point game.
Berkey, the importance of adapting to the scrum for Terenure. We saw they were under severe pressure in the first 2 or 3, but they seemed to really hold off against the secondary shove from youngsters there.
Yeah, they're hanging in there. Look, it's early doors, they're still fresh. I think this will come into play 10 minutes to go in this half and with 15 to go in the game. When teams are fatigued, there's a lot more rugby played. We might see a bit of dominance. You'd expect it to be rock solid there. What I like from Cookies, they did have the edge, but they didn't force it. And again, just rock solid set piece, keeping the ball, pressure on. That's what Division 1A rugby is about.
Evan Cusack lines up the penalty for young Munsters here. A bitterly cold evening in Limerick. Cusack sizes up the post. Lovely strike from Cusack, and the flags go up. And the score here in Greenfields, Terenure College lead by 5 points to 3. An absorbing contest so far, Dan Mooney.
Yeah, but Berkey called it before the game started. This one is always going to be one for the purists. We're not going to see a whole lot of tear loose rugby. We're going to see tight. We're going to see packs going at each other, and it's going to be close. It's going to be grim at parts.
Yeah, both sides are winning set piece, and both have taken away points when they've had any bit of sustained pressure in the opposition, around the opposition 22. And I think it'll be a matter of who can execute.
Conor Phillips regathers the kick for young Munsters. Ronan O'Sullivan has been hugely impressive for young Munsters.
Absolutely fantastic signing.
Cusack, lovely little clearance from him there. Young Munsters claiming that Evan Cusack was hit late by Terenure, but a wonderful clearance there by Cusack. Dan, it's a skill, particularly for a right-footed kicker on that side. He just banana kicked that into touch, and he's landed him 5 metres before the halfway line.
Yeah, he's very, it's going to be important in the course of the game, but he does have an excellent range. He's not the biggest man, he's not got big, huge, long legs, but when he puts his boot on it, he gets plenty out of it.
A phenomenal footballer and key to young Munsters, and I'm glad to see him get up there because he's pivotal to everything we do. Again, rock solid set piece from Terenure. Good collision in the middle of the field.
Big collision. Boomer again with a wonderful
It's going to be a game of inches. That was good
Smith
discipline
out
there
the back
from
to
young
LeGroux.
Munsters. That's really good D.
Brewer, a second row, used to play in the centre and the wide flanks.
Fantastic collision from Alan Kennedy.
Very hard there. There's a nice little bit of niggle in the game here in front of us. Smith elects to kick high to the right hand side, well fielded by Conor Phillips, who's off for a gallop. Phillips met well on that touchline by Caelan Dooley. Captain Kennedy shows up in a big collision. You don't often see Kennedy stopped in his tracks, but he was there by Terenure. Begley, it's a chop tackle by Terenure. Kieran Barry.
I think no arms tackle on Begley. It's a chop tackle, but if you don't put the arms up to try and put around, it's illegal. So someone has to stop a big man carrying like that. They've gone in too quickly, and it's cost them.
I think you talk about the evolution of Terenure's game. Last year, I think Terenure keep going there. But what's interesting, from the first kick-off and any time they've had possession in their own half, they'll have a go, but if they're not going anywhere after 3 phases maximum, they're looking to kick. Last year, they probably would have kept ball in the hand and looked to force it, whereas now they're just putting the ball in the right parts of the field.
With Captain Kennedy receiving some attention, that does give us an opportunity to say that this is a Club Scene podcast production co-produced with the IRFU. Dan Mooney, the players getting a breather there. What will the messages be for Young Munsters being 5-3 down? Overall, this is not bad. Terenure have had 2 visits to Young Munsters 22. They've had 1 try. Young Munsters haven't visited Terenure's 22 yet, and they're still only 2 points down in this game. So a penalty wins it for them. At some point, they will have a patch of possession inside the Terenure 22, and when that happens, the ability to convert that visit into real points is going to be what's crucial.
Unfortunately, I think this will probably be a game where whoever makes the mistake or lack of execution will probably be the key moments, but it's exactly as we expected it to be. It's not the free-flowing rugby that people might have thought coming in. It's a game for the purists. Defence is very much on top. Both teams winning their set piece immaculately, and not much given away from either side, really.
And the 2 Amelias both playing really, really well for Terenure.
There's some big collisions down out there, isn't there? Off 9, anytime there's a play from 9 on both sides of the ball, good looking to get hits in. Big shot there from Owen O'Connor. I give it to Alan Kennedy. It was actually Owen O'Connor in the red scrum cap.
But that's a massive hit from him to stop, and then we see Alan Kennedy carrying. He's hit massively and stopped. Yeah. And if that's what there's a certain amount of joy. If you're a rugby fan, there's a certain amount of joy in watching these absolutely shuddering hits. It's not quite. The Young Munsters power game last week, Dan and Berkey, I'll come to you in a second on it. We saw Alan Kennedy making those marauding runs. We saw the Tom Goggins, the Owen O'Connors really get gain line there, but it's very, very evident here that Terenure have their homework done and they are meeting those carriers right on the gain line. Yeah, and I mean Ronan O'Sullivan, he could yet be one of the big factors in this, because we saw him carrying last week and he has great feet. He moves really well and pivots out and tackles really well. The players carrying hard are getting hit hard.
Absolutely. I think you asked a while ago, if you're going to just come running off 9, you're going to end up not making much yards. So there is a bit of variety coming in. Terenure getting a bit of joy from tip-ons. Your Munster's looking to come out the back of those pods off 9. There's a bit of variety coming in, but to be honest, neither side getting much joy and looking to put the ball in the other team's half. Captain Kennedy gingerly back to his feet as Jack Lyons moves Young Munsters up to the Terenure 10-metre line. An opportunity for Young Munsters to get some field position as Dan Walsh, Tom Goggin, who's been excellent all season. That's another superb line out. Bailey Falloon on that. Terenure really trying to attack them all. Ronan O'Sullivan again. Kieran Barry gets in the middle of play, and both sets of fans not happy with that, but we will restart with a scrum. I think if either Ger Burke or Dan Mooney run that pitch and tackling the official, they mightn't have been as kind. Joe, what's interesting there, Falls, like Terenure getting a lot of joy from getting around the corner, the back lifter, their own lineouts and mauls. They massively put an emphasis on stopping Munsters doing the same there and stop that at source. Very well defended. If you stop Cookie's maul in Greenfields, you're onto a winner. It's been a very stop-start game so far. Yeah, I think both sets of fans unhappy with the referee's positioning there, because I think Terenure would feel Ronan O'Sullivan's isolated on that carry and they have a chance to get at that ball. Young Munsters feel the referee's stopped an opportunity to get the ball out. So it's a lose-lose on this one, and a scrum that I don't think either one of these packs wants to get into. I'm just looking at the Young Munsters backline here in front of me. It's probably the best backline I've ever seen here in the club, and you just hope that this is ideal. Rock solid scrum, left-hand side of the park, 10 metres. Ooh, Kieran Barry gives a penalty against Conor Bartley. He says he dropped his knee on that. Yeah.
And there is that little bit of niggle, as we said, Berkey there, and
he's been consistent for us. There's been 3 scrums down. He was on the side when he was on the side that went down. He's penalised for a penalty when the scrum went down. When he was on the other side, he reset it. He's been consistent. You can't ask for more than that. I don't think Bartley put up too much of a protest to that.
Dooley, right-footed, drills that down. He's not going to make touch. Phillips has it in his hands. He will elect to clear. And Phillips
would have hoped for more there.
Terenure will in the end have a line out about 30 metres from the Young Munsters line here. The stop-start nature of the game, Dan Mooney, it probably doesn't aid to free-flowing rugby, but it's tactically very, very intriguing.
Yeah, and it's going to be like this. This is just the way this game is shaping up, and
absolutely beautiful execution there. Throw comes first when that happens, as the lifters outside the scrum half's allowed join as a lifter, and it's very hard to defend. Excellent execution again. Maul getting around the corner there, they're eking out yards. It seems small, but it's
great
doing
knowledge
damage.
of the laws from Joe Burke, and LeGroux has the ball in his hands as Dan Goggin tackles. No quite turnover. Smith again out to De Butler. De Butler on the move, a little dink in behind, similar to where Adams did touch down earlier on. And it is reclaimed very, very well there by Shea McCarthy. At 15, has played in the centre and on the wings for Young Munsters this season. Carey comes in from Walsh. Tackle completed from Adam Melia. Cusack calls for the ball, takes it from Lyons, and Cusack finds touch for Young Munsters. But again, Terenure leaving Young Munsters off the hook with an offside penalty, and they will have the opportunity to clear their lines and regather possession at the line out. Berkey, you spoke there about Terenure, a brilliant line out to have at the back of the maul. Yeah. It's intriguing to see Young Munsters get yards in their maul, but also Terenure taking Young Munsters apart in their maul.
I think Young Munsters have the slide edge at scrum time, not massively, but have the slide edge. I think Terenure definitely have the slide edge at maul time. Both lineouts are performing superbly. That's a superb execution. Very difficult throw. It's a throw jump with your receiver coming in as a lifter. I think you saw there as well, Terenure got a bit of quick ball and they really went to move it and play.
Lions with a superb that is clearance. An outstanding kick. That is a superb penalty clearing kick, taken all the way from 5 metres out up to the halfway line.
Yeah, Munsters will be happy this. I'd imagine they knew they probably weren't going to come out the right side of the possession stat, but they're absorbing quite a lot. Very disappointing to see Alan Kennedy coming off in front of us. Titanic figure for Cookies. Very disappointing for him and for Young Munsters. That'll be a void need filling.
Indeed it will, as his replacement lines up to come on for Young Munsters.
So what'll happen here is Dan Walsh will go into the back row for us,
and Chris Moore will come in to hooker, as there is a convening of minds between the Young Munsters pack.
Not a bad replacement when you can shoot Dan Walsh down into the back row.
Yeah, it does take some size out of it because he's not quite as big as Alan Kennedy is, so that does remove a little bit of size from the whole thing.
Benny takes the ball, a little bit scrappy. Kieran Barry says the ball was knocked backwards and Marcus Hannon moves it. Smith, Terenure have always tried to get to width off turnover early in the season, and there's no change here in Greenfields. De Butler on the move, a little dink in behind. It's well covered by Conor Hayes. He's got a little bit of footwork to do and he does very, very well to get out.
Well done, Conor.
And a lovely offload, and it is Bailey Falloon on Kerry, manhandled. O'Connor eking out the yards. Lions looking for a set. Ronan O'Sullivan again, he's got through some amount of work in the opening 25 minutes.
He makes yards in every carry as well. Those feet are so tricky, it's hard to pin him down.
Yeah, he's been excellent so far, very versatile player.
Young Munsters electing to play inside their own half here, but I think Lions...
We're seeing a lot of this, both sides keeping the ball around the halfway line in between the two tens, not really getting much joy.
Dan Goggin, there is space for Young Munsters if they do go wide. Cusack moves it on, Walsh does very well, good skills. McCarthy carries very, very hard, does McCarthy. Boomer with a poach but doesn't quite get it. Young Munsters, Bartley with the deflection line. Young Munsters playing helter-skelter stuff inside their own half. The ball is now in the hands of Conor Phillips. And now it's in Hayes. Transition for the touchline. There's a chase on here between Conor Phillips and Hayes. The game sparks into life there. Dan Mooney, Conor Phillips and Conor Hayes creating something from nothing, and the crowd
The bounce of the ball has just robbed Conor Hayes there. It's Phillips and Hayes both chasing it down. They've both beaten their man inside and out, and the bounce of the ball just tricks Conor Hayes in the last second. And to be honest, Terenure are very lucky not to have conceded a try here.
Ger Burke, the persistence of young Munsters to play inside their own half there, sometimes teams can see that coming to their detriment, but some scintillating rugby there and nearly worked out for them.
Well, what I liked about that is when they had the ball over on the left, they went through off 9 for a series of phases, identified space, some nice hands, were willing to play and risk it. Dan Walsh with a nice pass to Shane McCarthy, and then they go touchline to touchline down the far side again, identifying space. A lot of different players getting hands on the ball, and it's the slightest little bit of space out there, but it was very effective.
As we do take a break in play for some treatment.
And worth noting, this is young Munster's first visit to the 22. It's 27 minutes gone. It's the first time they'll be in possession inside the Terenure 22 in the opening 27 minutes of this game.
As we said earlier on in Division 1A of the Energia All-Ireland League, a result from Castle Avenue. Garryowen were beaten 36 points to 10 by Clontarf in Castle Avenue. We will have a full roundup and league tables at the end of this broadcast. I, for one, lads, am definitely enjoying this a lot more than a lot of backs watching, but it's intriguing, Berkey, to look at it from the point of view where not almost like chess, but young Munsters, as Dan Mooney said, their first visit to the 22, and they almost pulled off a score there. Something really can happen from nothing.
Yeah, look, it was superb rugby, and the ball bounces a little kinder, and I think cookies are under the sticks. That's the fine margins at this level. But it was good, encouraging rugby, seeing that they retained the ball for high phases and that they did find space.
Benny with the ball in his hands at half-back for Terenure. Young Munsters having a go, but Terenure get the ball out at the back of the scrum, and it's Dooley with a carry, met by Cusack and Goggin. Smith on the right boot makes no mistake on the clearance for Terenure, and
it's
that's
a massive kick as well.
That's
absolutely
a textbook
massive
exit there, Dan Mooney.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a big kick. He's got a huge boot on him, and he just takes the pressure off, moves Terenure up to where they want to be. And this is the kind of situation where both of these teams want possession. They want to have as much ball as they can, but this will be one of those situations where Terenure will go, okay, you have it back. What are you going to do with it? Test us.
I think what you're seeing so far is just neither side are making a mistake, so it doesn't lead to the most exciting game, but it is very enjoyable. I think Callum Smith-Frost probably deserves a mention, probably the most underrated signing of the season. He's been absolutely immense for Terenure so far, signing from Malone. Probably a guy that wouldn't have came in with a big profile.
First line out goes askew, and it's McNulty on the charge, met very well by Jack Lyons. Ball again to Smith. As we said, Terenure will look to get to width on this. In the hands of De Butler, rather. Met by Evan O'Gorman, cleared by LeGroux. Boomer, good footwork, but he's met by young Munster's replacement, Chris Moore. But it's a great line there. Adams on the move. He's got around McCarthy. Adams, Conor Hayes looks to bring him down. He's 3 metres short of the line here. Terenure with an opportunity. Quick ball is going to be needed. Brewer forks it out. Cusack, LeGroux, and they've moved it out, and it's going to be a try here for Terenure College. I think it's Luke Clossy there on the other side, but Terenure devastating on turnover ball there. An error from the young Munsters line out, Ger Burke and Terenure with their second try of the afternoon.
It's that simple. We just spoke both sides not making mistakes. Very, very sloppy line out from Munsters. Very uncharacteristic, and they're paid dearly. Lovely play from Alan Benny. He bounces to the second defender. He draws in. Third defender is marking a man. Winger comes soft off his shoulder. Gorgeous piece of play. Something they would have worked on during the week, and just again, once they get in behind you, so difficult to stop. All players comfortable, hands on the ball, and kind of inevitable that they were going to go over.
Yeah, it's got to be disappointing for young Munster. You lose the line out, it's overthrown, it's poor. But after that mistake is made, you need to now get into your defensive positions, and they don't get there fast enough. Terenure have players to exploit gaps, and gaps were left, and it was a routine job. For a team this good, they see a gap like that, they're going to take it.
Absolutely. What I'm really impressed about Terenure, they're not forcing it at all. If it's not on, they're happy to put the ball down the other end of the park, but the minute they sniff an opportunity, they are lethal. And that's, in fairness, Two really, really well taken tries.
Luke Clossy with the try there. Berkey, a point I do want to pick up on there is with Alan Kennedy having left, yes, Dan Mooney said the size is gone, but Dan Walsh has gone off darts, and his replacement Chris Moore has taken. That's the first line that we've seen malfunction. No disrespect to the player there, but a big moment in the context of the game.
It was a miscommunication there with no player in the air. Like Dan, well able to play in the back row, but he is a line out option down now, with Dan Walsh not obviously being the 6 foot suit stature of Alan Kennedy.
Dooley with his trusty right boot adds the extras, which leaves the score Terenure 12, Young Munsters 3 after 31 and a half minutes here, and Terenure, Dan Mooney, devastating off turnover ball.
Look, three visits, 12 points, 4 points per visit. Young Munsters have 3 points from one visit. That's the story, it's the stat of the game.
Fionn Gibbons in the interim has been yellow carded for an altercation after the try was scored, and it will give Terenure an opportunity to get right into the Young Munster 22, and Callum Smith's trusty right boot has done just that. Berkey, in indiscretions from Young Munster is giving Terenure easy field position, and you do not want to be doing that to the top team in the country at the moment.
We spoke about this. If you lapse in concentration for a couple of minutes against these guys and they will rack up scores, Young Munsters really need to come away here without conceding, because it's 12-3 and Terenure look to be improving it with every minute.
Melia again with a take at 5 in the line out, and Terenure's maul is on the move.
Again,
wheeling
really
right
good
around.
maul execution.
Harrison Brewer on the ball. Benny telling his pod to get out. Clossy, the try scorer, calling for it, has got Boomer on his inside and Mick Mealy on his outside. Terenure getting yards over, and they've snapped back. It's Craig Adams, the try scorer, 1-on-1 with Tom Goggin. Goggin slips off the tackle, and it's Adams again, and he throws the ball inside. Terenure attacking at will, but there is a knock-on advantage here coming. Young Munsters surviving this occasion. Terenure attacking at will, and Hayes with the conversion, but there will be no advantage from Kieran Barry. Berkey, Alan Benny with a lovely little 30-yard pass to Craig Adams with a 1-on-1, and it just goes to show how dangerous Terenure are right across the board.
What are we in for? 25 minutes or so. Guys are starting to get fatigued. There is space appearing, and in fairness, Terenure are picking up on that.
Dan Mooney, Young Munsters look a little bit shell-shocked at Terenure's upping of the pace the last 5 minutes. Is that a fair comment?
They've gone up to another gear, and again, Berkey pointed it out, and it's worth saying it again. When the gaps are there, when the opportunities are on, and what Terenure saw was Tom Goggin standing out on the wing, and they've seen a mismatch and decided, this is on, we can go for it. It's unfortunate for them they haven't come away with a try.
Jack Lyons feeds into the Young Munsters scrum. We will reset. Evan Cusack not happy with the call, but we've been very consistent with calls this afternoon. Dan Goggin and Shane McCarthy setting up directly opposite Callum Smith here. Quite a subdued atmosphere in Greenfields after the score.
The Munsters have had very little possession. Their maul has been very ineffective outside the edge of the scrum. You have to say they're probably starting to come off second best in a lot of areas. But to be honest, they're probably also saying we haven't done a lot wrong, but whatever they have done wrong, they've been punished for. Dan
Mooney is shuffling nervously around our commentary position up here, remaining impartial. But Dan, from the point of view of Terenure, we've seen them, if they turn the ball over on one side of the field, they are keen to get to width, and it's a very impressive skill set. Yeah, and Young Munster defending a little bit narrow, so when Terenure move it, it's a scramble, kind of a drifting scramble defence from Young Munster to get out and try and cover that width. Again, not a whole lot has been done wrong. They've played quite well, but haven't had enough ball. Now the moment will arrive. Young Munster will have a purple patch. What you don't want when that happens is to be down by 15 or 17 points and trying to recoup a more than 2-score game. So it's crucial Young Munster get out of here, start playing up at the other end if they want to come out of this with anything. Just an update in Ashdown Lane, the 70 minutes gone in the Energy AIL Women's Division Conference Final, and Wicklow lead 22 points to 17. It was 17-14 to the hosts, and maybe it looks like Wicklow could be about to get their hands on some silverware for the first time at All-Ireland level, and no doubt Ashdown Lane will be hopping tonight if that does happen on that regard. Fantastic achievement for Wicklow there to see it out there. Well done to all in Wicklow. the stop-start nature of the game here as we wait for the resumption of scrum. Conal Boomer getting it. What will be the messages for you Munsters in the last 5 minutes of this first half?
They have to come to terms with the Terenure maul. It is starting to get an edge. I think they got to probably squeeze a little more of the scrum because it's the one area they do have dominance. Probably look to squeeze a couple of penalties, and they just need to keep the ball and play a little and actually put Terenure under pressure.
I think that stoppage is actually going to work in Young Munster's favour. It's the momentum that Terenure had. It takes a little bit of the sting out of it, allows Young Munster to regroup, get their breath back, talk to each other about defensive positioning and see, because again Terenure are just so strong.
As Jack Lyons feeds into the Young Munsters scrum, much more solid scrum on both sides. Benny works with Smith and Dan Goggin with a superb carry. He gets back to his feet again. Does Dan Goggin. It's cleared out. Lyons hits Cusack right-legged with a great clearance kick, and a good exit from Young Munsters has a Terenure line out. They've elected to go quickly, and Legrew with a lovely little kick in behind. But Kieran Barry says the line out was marked, and we will have a Terenure line out just short of the 10 metre line as we approach the halfway stage.
Yeah, I think our game clock is saying 37 minutes, but there were injuries. Alan Kennedy was down for a while, Boomer was down for a while, so we're probably going to add another 3 or 4 minutes onto that. We're probably going to play until around 43, 44 minutes, I would guess.
Conal Boomer does come off limping, and Jordan Coughlin comes off the bench for Terenure. Berkey in front of us there. If there's an honesty call, it looked like there was a little bit of crabbing across the line.
I think there was a pair of minutes, if we're being honest. I think Terenure were coming across as well. Interesting there. Young Munster's looking to put a lot of pressure and actually challenge in the air. They've given Terenure too much easy set piece so far.
Mick Neely at the sides, and the ball goes to Brewer. McNulty with a superb throw. It's a 5+1 line out for Terenure. Goggin doing his best to disrupt on the inside as the replacement Jordan Coughlin waits for a carry. Benny on the move. Dan Walsh forces him on the inside, and Walsh just about misses the lift on the turnover. Coughlin back from an injury. Former pro. Met very well by Owen O'Connor there. Alan Benny using all his experience trying to tie O'Connor in. Little box over the top. Conor Hayes has got to make up some ground here. Use his right leg. It's a difficult clearance. He does give it a hell of a boot, but will remain in field and is caught by Callum Smith. He's got Legrew outside him if he elects to pass, but he decides to go up and under. It is just him on the chase. It's well taken by Dan Goggin for Young Munsters. The game is picked up in pace, and it's Hayes again. He moves it to O'Sullivan. So elusive in the carry is O'Sullivan. Dan Walsh waits for the carry. Goggin and Begley, his clearers. They move Coughlin off the ball. Young Munsters again. Bartley, huge man with the carry. And Cusack says, let's go downtown with this, as he lands the ball right on top of Legrew. He's got acres of space in front of him as he assesses, but he slices that off the foot, but the ball is going to bounce. And Jack Lyons, and it's Legrew again, and Legrew has an opportunity. It's well fielded by Conor Phillips on the right hand side. It is a collective gasp from the Young Munsters faithful here in Greenfields. Young Munsters working very hard to get back in. Goggin, who will look to get things under control as Terenure try and disrupt the ruck on the right hand side.
Yeah, this is the heavy stuff we were seeing earlier on in the game between two teams really just willing to scrap over yards or half yards as much as they need to.
Cusack picks it out of the breadbasket from Lyons, and a clearance there, an opportunity to catch our breaths in Berkey. That's probably the longest in-play ball time we've seen this afternoon.
Yeah, I think what you're starting to see, Alan Benny now is starting to come to the fore. Guys are very tired out there. There's been a lot of big collisions, a lot of heavy scrums and mauls, and he's looking to pick off forwards at the base of mauls and mauls and rucks. He's starting to force decisions. It's not just collisions the Cookies have to come up trumps with. And to be honest with you, Terenure just not making any mistakes.
It's a bounce of a ball as well will absolutely kill you, because it's a sliced kick. It's not even a good kick. Legrew kind of doesn't connect with it the way I'm sure he wanted to, but where it drops and bounces just tricks Lyons, and suddenly Terenure are on it. That's how fast they react and how fast they can transition, and it's a scramble then. But then both teams enjoy fronting up and fighting over half a metre and scrapping with each other over that.
I think you're seeing an absolutely fantastic balance to Terenure's game. Set piece has been rock solid. Scrum has creaked once or twice, but their line-up's been immaculate. Maul's been good. They haven't played in the wrong areas of the park, but when they have been given opportunity, they've been lethal.
It has been very noticeable, Dan Mooney, that both teams, when given the opportunity, have tried to play, but you get the feeling one or two errors, the bounce of a ball there from Legroux's slice kick, that they're going to be big moments, and young Munsters really do need to get the next score in this game.
Yeah, I think that the next score is, God, the next score is always crucial. It's such a cliche, but it's true. The next score for young Munster, it has to be them. If they find themselves too far behind, there's no way back in against this team.
Dooley with a great carry on the resumption of play. Coughlin again. Good carry from Coughlin. Benny again out the back of Melia to Smith. Young Munsters with a shooter defence there. Cusack putting him off. Young Munsters with a great turnover there. Ronan O'Sullivan and Begley. There's an opportunity there. Shane McCarthy looking for the ball out wide. Terenure perhaps knowing that young Munsters could get the ball to the touchline. And Kieran Barry does have his hand in his pocket, and he's looking to talk to a Terenure player.
The crowd are starting to get involved, probably the loudest we've heard them all afternoon. Not really sure what happened there, Falls.
It's a yellow card for Mick Melia on that side. Well, judging by the replay there, I think as young Munsters did get that turnover, they realised that they were short-staffed on this side, and Mick Melia in his own head had no other choice, and he will have 10 minutes in the bin, so an extended half-time break as Evan Cusack kicks young Munsters 27 metres, excuse my pass mats, from the young Munsters line here as we enter the final stages of the first half.
Young Munsters should only have a minute or so left on their own bin. Should be coming back to full complement fairly shortly. If they can get a score here, they'll be pretty happy. Stay in touch and distance. Just stay in touch and distance with them.
Yeah, I think a score here is absolutely outstanding. They need it. If they get it, this game changes. And Fionn Gibbons is back in. That's the end of the sin bin for young Munster. They now have that man advantage. They need to use it.
And the ball is turned over by Terenure. It's another error again. We will get reaction to that at half time, as young Munsters did change the hooker. Smith with a long clearance as the fog starts to come down. Shane McCarthy moves it. Dan Goggin with the ball in hand has got Hayes outside. He goes on the inside of Dooley, but he's well met by Adam Melia, who's been very good for Terenure all afternoon. Dooley was offside on his inside. He gets a call from the touch judge. And those little errors there, Dan Mooney, Terenure, as much as young Munsters have given them easy field position, Terenure are in the same vein. They're giving young Munsters easy access to their half.
That's brainless stuff. There was nothing on. There was a tidy defence waiting for any young Munster carrier who may be there, and a player just overextends, rush of blood to the head, and suddenly it's 3 yards and the seventh penalty for young Munster this match.
Dan, you called a couple of minutes ago. You said young Munsters will have their purple patch. They're having it. Terenure down to 14. They should be back to 15 fairly soon, but they cannot keep missing lineouts. Yeah. They have to turn this into scores. Even if they just get another 3 on the board, they have to convert here.
Moore, the replacement, if you were just joining us, Alan Kennedy, the captain for young Munsters, hadn't gone off. Dan Walsh has moved into the back row. The ball goes to the tail, and Moore again misses his man McNulty to Smith. And Smith, whether that's going to be the half time, it is half time, and Terenure College lead young Munsters 12 points to 3. Dan Mooney, a stop-start first half, but intriguing nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean it's been highly entertaining to watch if this is your type of rugby, and for me it is. I like seeing these battles. I like seeing the kind of scrapping over half a yard just to make that half a yard, and both teams full-blooded, willing to go at each other for the sake of holding on to the ball and keeping possession a little bit longer. So it's been intriguing to watch. The fun part, if you like to call it that, in terms of watching rugby, is a team like Terenure, the likes of Adams and Legroux, players who can, when they see a gap, just go at it. Whenever they can look up, see where the space is, see where the mismatches are, and attack that absolutely ruthlessly. There's a reason they're top of the division. It's just the quality they have and their ability to play that heads-up rugby when demanded, because the rest of the game they're going to spend beating you up in the pack, but when they need to, they can go to that heads-up stuff and score tries.
We will have some first half highlights as they play over. Joe Burke, interestingly, as we mentioned in first half, you rightly called Alan Kennedy, the captain, went off which saw Dan Walsh, who started at hooker, move into the back row. Talk to us a little bit about how they're going to have to rejig the line out, and particularly with Chris Moore on darts not finding his men.
Yeah, that's definitely two, if not the last three lineouts Munster have overthrown at the back. I don't know, we're going to have to change and take the front there. Like, it's just Dan, me and you are coming here to probably 70 years of watching games between the two of us. Munster's not winning their own line out in Greenfields is just unacceptable. It's our bread and butter, and it's you're only going to get a limited number of opportunities against Terenure, and if you're going to give away that much possession, you're not going to get anywhere near them.
Dan Mooney, as we see the replays of the first half come over us, it's been very noticeable that Terenure, when given the opportunity, and the 22 of Young Munsters have taken their opportunities. In saying that, Young Munster haven't had the possession in the 22, but you still have hope that if they do get into those positions, as long as they can look after the set pieces, Berkey says that they're still a minute of chance.
Yeah, I mean, Terenure have phenomenal defence. They haven't had to use it a whole lot inside their own 22, but Young Munster have the threat. They have the ability. They have players to get at it. Shane McCarthy, Connor Phillips, Connor Hayes. These are all very fast players. They're players who can move quickly, who can exploit space themselves. That they need to be utilised. In order to utilise them, you have to have the territory. Don't have the territory, you don't get to use it. The clock is also. You got a man advantage here. You kick for the corner, or you kick down the line. You get your line out. You don't hit your own man. Yeah. You've lost about a minute and a half of a sin bin clock just to lose 20 yards or 30 yards.
Under fatigue as well, I think your Munsters have probably gone back to route one a little bit, just kind of one-dimensional, and they need to ask more questions of Terenure.
With the first half completed, Dan Mooney, in terms of what Young Munsters need to do better in the second half, is it fair to say that discipline has been an issue for both sides?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised at Terenure's discipline, to be quite honest about it. It hasn't been great. Young Munster hasn't either. There've been rushed decisions, and there's been some stuff that was kind of not thinking, not putting your teammates first, and as a result of that, it's cost both teams. But the penalty count is 7-3. Young Munster have had 7 penalties. Terenure have only had 3. So the discipline Terenure have shown has been quite poor in the cost, whereas Young Munster's decision making, rather than their discipline, the decision making has been poor, and the result of that poor decision making has been 12 points.
I think if you're in the Cookies halftime huddle here, you have to be speaking about Alan Benny. As players fatigue and as the game goes on, he's going to look to snipe more and more and more. He has to be dealt with. I think Jordan Coughlin has been excellent since he's come on. He's had a real impact. He's just a man that those collisions are bread and butter to him, to take nothing out of him, and he's allowing Terenure when they need to just get gain line.
The messages are coming in from both sides. It is cliched, Dan Mooney. The score is 12 points to 3 in favour of Terenure College here in Greenfields. Before we get underway, how important is the next score to the game? I would say it's unlikely that over the course of 40 minutes that Young Munster will not get an opportunity to score, whether or not, when that moment comes, they are within touching distance of Terenure is what matters. So if Terenure manage to put another score on and extend this out past 14 points, then it becomes a mountain for Young Munster to climb. Whereas if they are to score, Young Munster score, and cut this down to perhaps a 2-point game again, well, then we're going to have a very interesting 40 minutes. So I don't want to say too much about next score wins or the big next score cliches, but it is important here. Temperatures are below zero as the crowd return from the bar with their mulled wine and teas and coffees. Callum Smith has the ball in his hands. The players jumping up and down to keep themselves warm, but a well-attended game here in Greenfields in the Energia All-Ireland League as Callum Smith resumes the second half. The score 12 points to 3 in favour of Terenure as Fionn Gibbons clears it, well taken by Legrew, and it's Coughlin, and he's got the ball in his hand, gives it to Smith, who in turn moves it back to Melia. Soak tackle from Young Munster's Benny. Lovely little pass. Tom Goggin adjudged to have been too eager there and offside. And Dan Mooney, we spoke about this before half time, and Young Munsters are giving Terenure easy outs again here with a discipline.
Yeah, talked about how Terenure have been at the more indisciplined side. They conceded 7 penalties to Young Munster's 3. But then you start a game with a man advantage. You start the second half even with your man advantage, and the first thing you do is concede a penalty. Poor start to the second half.
Smith launches the penalty for Terenure College. who are inside the Young Munsters 22 here. 2 visits in the first half yielded 2 tries for Terenure, and a massive opportunity here, Joe Burke.
I think you just on Callum Smith, for all I think he's been flawless. He's done absolutely nothing wrong so far. Just every job he's done 10 out of 10. Yes, we know what's coming here. It's going to be a maul. Cookies have to deal with it.
Melia with the take at the front, and it's sacked by Young Munsters. Kieran Barry gives a penalty here. He hasn't signalled for it. He is speaking to Dan Walsh, giving an explanation. Benny has the ball on the ground. Terenure will most likely go into the corner here again, and Smith with the easiest task, and Terenure will have a 5 metre line out here.
Probably the right call for us. There was a delay before it went down, but marginal, and you get away with that a lot. Well spotted from Kieran Barry.
Been very strong this afternoon. 2 yellow cards here. Brewer in the middle of the line-out. It's a great take by Owen O'Connor. Well taken. That 2-step line-out by Terenure, well read, and O'Connor with a carry met very, very hard by replacement Jordan Coughlin at Terenure. And it's Ronan O'Sullivan again. We've spoken about his footwork. He is giving extra time for his cleaners to get in there as Lyons hits Cusack and his right leg. The ball is travelling, and it's a superb touch, judged to perfection. Legru watches it go over the line as Terenure will have a line out just inside their own half. A good clean exit from Young Munsters, Dan Mooney.
Yeah, and you can tell that Benny is not happy about it. He's walked all the way back up shaking his head. He knows that was a massive opportunity for Terenure, and to end up back inside their own half throwing into a line-out is just not what the forwards want.
Terenure with a 5+1 setup, and Coughlin takes the ball. McNulty has been flawless with his darts all afternoon. O'Connor and Goggin doing their best to disrupt, but the ball is with McNulty and Terenure in control as they eke forward. Benny has looked like a knock-on in front of us here, but it's adjudged to be play on. The ball thrown back to Smith. Won't thank whoever threw that, but Walsh with a superb turnover from Young Munsters. Ronan O'Sullivan, Dan Mooney spoke about Dan Walsh's lower centre of gravity, but Ronan O'Sullivan has been absolutely outstanding for Young Munsters this evening.
Look, we had a much better view of that than the referee, but I think Terenure did well to get away with that throw. It's interesting, anytime Young Munsters have got pressure, there has been a bit of a flutter. They need to get guys in the air and put that Terenure line under pressure.
Jack Lyons moves Young Munsters to within 6 metres of the Terenure College line. 12 points to 3 here after 43 minutes in Greenfields. The second half has started at a frantic pace. It will be interesting to see if Chris Moore can find his target and if Young Munster can turn this 22 opportunity into a score. Goggin with the take. Young Munsters set them all here as the cries of heave from the Young Munster faithful in Greenfields. It is at the back. Terenure doing well to defend that. Kieran Barry says use it once. Lyons moves the ball. Dan Goggin hits his centre partner Gibbons, and Goggin decides to pick and go again and gains a couple of yards as Young Munster load on the right hand side. O'Connor with a good carry. He's met with 2 latchers and Young Munsters making yards as Ronan O'Sullivan carries hard. Terenure shifting to defend to the left hand side. Lyons hits O'Connor. He's hit hard by Coughlin but rides the tackle. Young Munsters looking to go around the corner as head coach Gar Prendergast says same again. Terenure doing well to slow the ball, but Young Munsters eking forward with carries again. They're going to have to be very careful to look after the ball as Terenure are looking to get over it on the breakdown. It slows down. Ball is in the hands of O'Sullivan. And it's a score for Young Munsters. On the right hand side, we spoke about how important it was to get the next score, Dan Mooney, and it is Conor Hayes. Dan Walsh is getting the congratulations rather from Conor Hayes.
Well, there's a reason Gerard Prendergast is saying go again, same again. They've looked at this and they've said we can do this in the short range, 5 metres out. We have the carriers to do it. We have the energy to do it. They've seen something in the Terenure defence that makes Gerard Prendergast believe they have an edge here 5 metres out. He's telling them to go again with good reason. Young Munster do very, very well. And considering the start to the second half, penalty conceded and going all the way down 5 metres from their own line, to come up the other end and get a score is massive.
I think it's probably the first time in the game Cookies Cookies have done probably 5 or 6 good things in a row without throwing in an error or a penalty or a missed set piece, something like that, and have reaped the rewards. You just don't stop Dan Walsh from there. That's his speciality.
I'll have to blame the fog in my eyesight for thinking Munsters were 10 metres from the line, but Dan Walsh gets very close, and while Evan Cusack is taking this conversion full-time in the Energia All-Ireland League Women's Division Conference Final, Wicklow have beaten Galwegians 22 points to 17. Great scenes in Ashdown Lane, and congratulations to Wicklow for their first bit of silverware at this level as Evan Cusack lines up the conversion just inside the 15-metre line on the right-hand side. Goes through his routine, strikes it well, and it's over the bar. And Young Munsters have cut Terenure's lead to 2 points. The score, Terenure College 12 points, Young Munsters 10. And Berkey, the temperature has gone up ever so
Absolutely.
slightly.
Well, look, Young Munsters started to put pressure on the Terenure line out. O'Connor steals the line on the 22. They put the line out under pressure on the halfway line. They turn a penalty, gets in possession, 22, 12-10 game on. If they conceded, you're probably thinking game over and Terenure looking for a bonus point, but it's game on now.
Big moments in Division 1 of the Energia All-Ireland League here in Greenfields. Callum Smith with the ball in his hand, right-footed, high and hanging. Tom Goggin claims it very, very well. Conor Bartley with the single lift. Ball squirts out the back, and it is Chris Moore with the carry.
I don't know if people will appreciate it at home, but I'm thoroughly enjoying the level of physicality that we're seeing, both defensively and offensively off 9.
Loves physicality, does our Ger Birkin. A little bit of indecision from Coughlin and Legrew, but Legrew, a whippet as he is at full back, buys himself a bit of time and gets the reverse pass from Adams, and he moves it to Stephen O'Neill, and to Butler, makes the kick. Whipped back in. Jack Lyons thought about it, has given Stephen O'Neill on this right hand touchline an opportunity to have a go. He's got Luke Clossy on the inside, and O'Neill takes route 1. Tom Goggin with an opportunity at turnover. Coughlin with the carry. It's all happening here in Greenfields. Young Munsters looking, and Begley, Benny with the pass. Smith, Kieran Barry sticks out the hand. Marcus Hannon, very, very elusive at loose head prop for Terenure College. Brewer wants to move it. Smith with a little dink over the top, and Dan Walsh right in front of Kieran Barry. It's going to be interesting to see what is said here.
He'll do well to get away without getting yellow here.
Ger Burke said pre-game that the dark arts were gone. They were
Well, they are.
They were arts in broad daylight.
Yeah.
There was nothing particularly mysterious about that one. He just openly went for it, and it looks as though he might have gotten away with it. Harrison Brewer looks not one bit happy with the referee for letting it go. A 3-point opportunity.
Yeah.
And it says a lot about what Young Munsters have done in the early parts of this game. The Terenure have decided, you know what, we're taking the points and we're going to move this out to 5. Don't want to be in a 2-point game, rather than going for the line as they had been doing earlier on.
Absolutely. Look, it's become a one-score game. You take your points now. That's there's a lot of experience in that field. I think, look, again, another instance there, Terenure under pressure. Jordan Coughlin, big carry off 9, just, gives him a couple of metres. Just very simple, but so effective. Allows Terenure to regroup.
Sean McNulty and Adam Melia make way for Terenure College, which sees John McKee come into the fold along with Mike Murphy, 2 very able replacements. As Caelan Dooley lines up to kick Dan Mooney, it's been very evident a piece of brilliance in the first half from Terenure. Saw Craig Adams score, but errors are being punished on both sides here.
Yeah, no, I mean, in a way it's not punished because the yellow card wasn't brought out. It should have been. Caelan Dooley's going to knock that. I mean, you can kick him from the car park, and as I said, he puts it wide. I'm kind of stunned by that. He's done such a good job kicking, and he's such a dependable kicker, and I'm kind of surprised that isn't 3 points. And if you're talking about punishing errors, that may very well be an error that comes back and is punished down the line.
Our reliable statsman Morris Hartree is in La Rochelle, so can't tell us when the last time Caelan Dooley missed a kick, but
Well, he had to miss one at some point. What's interesting is your Munsters are sending a shooter up on the outside a couple of times, been very effective, but the last 2 times they've done it, they've been punished for offside. I know they were playing advantage for that last penalty there.
Legrew carries back after Cusack's 22 clearance. Brewer moves it back. Smith, lovely little show and go on the inside. He has been brilliant all afternoon, has Smith, to Dooley, out the back to the Butler. Lovely little pass to Stephen O'Neill on the outside, and he elects to kick it in behind McCarthy. It's going to be a foot race here between Stephen O'Neill showing all his experience there, and Young Munsters will have a 5 metre line out to get out, but Terenure showing Dan Mooney there that on a sixpence they can turn it and really turn it on.
Yeah, they can, and this is the thing, they see gaps, they go for him, they can move it coast to coast, and Young Munster are defending narrow. So that drift, Connor Phillips was late coming out to try and cover, and O'Neill, that's all he wants, is half a yard, half a blade of grass to start getting a head of steam. He puts it through. I think Phillips has done really well defensively to cover the chase and prevent O'Neill from getting some momentum onto that ball.
Chris Moore with the ball in his hands. Owen O'Connor loads it to Terenure, elect to stay on the ground. Closey doing his best to disrupt, but Young Munsters have shored up the line out after a couple of mishaps late in the first half, and they are moving forward here. Dan Goggin on the right hand side will carry. He's met by Coughlin. What a collision from two top players in the Energia All-Ireland League. Ball is in the hands of Moore again, growing into the game since coming on to replace Captain Kennedy. Cusack, cultured right boot, and brings play up to the 10 metre line where Terenure College will have the opportunity to launch another attack here. Berkey, you spoke about Callum Smith. He's just been so eloquent, almost majestic like on the ball.
To be fair, both him and Evan just doing the basics so well, giving both their sides a massive relief after boot when needed. Solid set piece there from Cookies, decent maul, and then a quality exit.
McKee, the replacement hooker for Terenure, has the ball in hands, and Brewer takes the ball very well at the front. Terenure have shifted this maul off the left foot towards the touchline. They've made 2 to 3 Young Munsters players redundant. Everything's still legal for the time being as Benny remonstrates. McKee with the carry. Ronan O'Sullivan puts his hand up, tells the referee he's onside and bought himself some time. Melia moves it to Smith out the back to Butler. Lovely little pass out to LeGroux. He's got Adams on his outside, scored a try in the first half. Adams goes, throws the ball back inside, still going on that left hand touchline. Terenure load up, and it's Coughlin getting over that gain line again. Young Munster's going to have to defend here big time. Marcus Hannon, good carry in Terenure when they generally get into this position punish. And just as I say that, the ball does skew out. It's Dooley with an opportunity. The ball is loose, and it is just about touchdown. Hands on heads, collective sighs of relief on the Young Munsters side, but Terenure there, the commentator's curse getting in. The pass doesn't quite go to hand, but again, electric stuff. Dan Mooney for Terenure in attack.
Oh look, it's the same thing that we saw with O'Neill on this near side when Phillips it was caught. Young Munsters are narrow, Phillips is too late drifting over, except it's on the far side this time. Young Munsters so narrow defending that when Terenure move it all the way out, there is space to run into, and suddenly they're scrambling, and then you see the support play from the guys like Coughlin. Coughlin covers the entire width of the pitch to be there ready to carry when eventually the player is brought to ground, and as he carries, he makes yards. It's just the thing he does.
Berkey, those skill sets for Terenure to get into those wide channels are one thing, but to see the likes of Craig Adams and Stephen O'Neill and LeGroux, the footwork just buys them so much time, and Terenure click into those attacking shapes when they do get into the touchlines.
Every time they've got the ball to width, when they move the ball say into that wide 15 metre channel, what's impressed me is their 15s and wingers are meeting the ball at full tilt. So difficult to defend that, and then forcing the full back to engage and then putting the ball behind them. Very simple rugby. Harry
Fleming has joined the fray for Young Munsters. A couple of very good performances from him in the last couple of games, starting with the win against Clontarf, which has seen Young Munsters win 3 games from 3. They're currently 2 points down as Evan Cusack finds Coughlin. Coughlin bringing the ball to the line and carrying, bouncing off Owen O'Connor. Benny again elects to go down the touchline to Butler. Moves so well with the ball in 2 hands and very hard to defend for Young Munsters. Coughlin again with a big carry close in. Benny bouncing out. He's got Craig Adams in on the touchline. Young Munsters making yards here. It's a great clear out as Hannon picks and goes. Terenure, you feel here, upping the ante. But Young Munsters get over the ball, and you just get that feeling bringing the crowd into the game. Joe Burke, we spoke about this before the game. A big moment like that, and the crowd is going to give some lift to the Young Munsters team.
That's a big play. I'm not sure who got the turnover. That's a huge moment, because Terenure starting to really move the ball around and win collisions. Same move there, Benny coming around the corner looking to sit down defenders, winger coming off, or blindside wing coming off his shoulder, well defended this time, and a massive turnover for Young Munsters.
Jack Lyons finds touch for Young Munsters as Owen O'Connor makes the call. Paolo Lacey Wow comes in to replace Conor Bartley, as does George Jacobs, who replaces David Begley. Berkey, the importance of a squad in any league is important, but talk to us about the changes there.
Huge. What I love about this year is that Begley and Bartley, a few months have been rotated and are playing superbly and are a lot fresh. This time last year, the two lads were burnt out.
Moore, the ball is not clean, and it goes, and it's well taken by Terenure. Wonderful carry by replacement Murphy. Benny on the move to Coughlin. He is beating the first tackler every time. Jordan Coughlin returning from a knee injury. Smith takes the pass from his knees. Dooley at 12, he's well met by Fleming. Benny again has had the ball on a plate all afternoon. Brewer making the hard yards for Terenure. Coughlin again.
Coughlin has broken the game line off every single carry since coming off the bench.
Murphy with another carry for Terenure. They're in no mood to do anything fancy in this area of the pitch. Brewer with the carry. Coughlin looks in the turnover. Bodies on the ground here as we see Terenure again knock back there. Young Munster's buying some time. Dooley with the ball in his hands. What's he going to do with it? He's got Craig Adams on his outside. He decides to carry. Bailey Falloon rides the clear out, but doesn't manage to get a lift on the ball. Closey tries scoring the first half, spins out of the tackle. Hugely physical here in Greenfields. Coughlin again brought to ground by Goggin, but over the gain line. And Kieran Barry blows the whistle. Wonderful ball retention from Terenure College there. We are really starting to see the effects of a physical encounter, Dan Mooney, as there are several players on both sides down getting their breath.
Yeah.
Can you see what he gave that penalty for, Falls?
I think it was probably in not rolling away at the scrum or slowing the ball.
So there were a couple of hands on it. It looked, we'd have to get another look at it, but it looked as though there was a couple of players joining from curious angles, and the ball skittered out. Somebody thought it was in play and went to dive on it on the ground. The referee has said it wasn't in play, it was still in the ruck, and so it's young Munster player offside at the ruck. But that's one of those ones where it was so much, it was frenetic, there was so much going on that the referee eventually went, you know what, we're going to stop it there and we'll have a penalty.
Caelan Dooley will line up the penalty, but Berkey, talk to us a little bit about being a defender in that Young Munsters team after 58 minutes when you see John McKee and Jordan Coughlin come off the bench.
It's relentless. You know, Dan's talking about Young Munsters are getting narrow, and they are times that you have to get narrow if you're going to have any chance in those collisions. They're trying to get double shots in because one-on-ones, these guys are going to blow over the gain line. But to be perfectly honest with you, after absorbing all that pressure, I think Young Munsters would be happy to take 3 here and get the ball down the other end of the park. Or to concede 3, should I say.
Relentless pressure from Terenure has yielded a penalty, which gives Dooley an opportunity to make amends.
Again, though, Falls, it's all coming from a poor set piece from Young Munsters.
Dooley, right-legged, lands the penalty, and Terenure College stretched their lead to 15 points to 10. And a period of concerted pressure, Dan Mooney, for Terenure College. But Young Munsters will know any opportunity they get in the Terenure half, they're really going to have to take it.
Yeah, they're going to have to, but like considering the amount of possession Terenure have had and how dangerous they've looked when they've got it, the fact that this is only a 5-point game means it's still very much in the balance and still very much there to be won if Young Munster can put some possession together and get into that 22.
It's a 5-point game with 20 plus minutes on the clock. Both benches seem to have been fairly well emptied at the moment. Game's there to be won. Whoever makes the least amount of mistakes, whoever set piece shores up the most, will see this out. Munsters will be pretty happy, I think. You know, they haven't had many opportunities this half. The one they did have, they took.
Dan Walsh getting the head strapped up, leading by example for Young Munsters all afternoon as the fog does come in. I cannot tell you how cold it is in Greenfields this afternoon, and a huge, I must commend crowds on both sides, the large Terenure College travelling support and Young Munsters, as Evan Cusack gets ready to restart the game as we enter the final quarter. High hanging kick, Closey takes very well there. Marcus Hannon sets them all, and Terenure decide. Smith carried back in and drives it down the field. Shane McCarthy is underneath this. He's got Conor Hayes on his right hand side. He takes it from Hayes, who has a cannon of a boot, and the spiral is going to come back in field, and LeGroux has it over on that left hand touchline, right legged. No nonsense from LeGroux, and Young Munsters will have a line out 6 metres inside the Terenure half.
They'll be happy with that.
Yeah, it's a bit of kick tennis. You see it every now and again, and the winner of the kick tennis game is whoever ends up with the territory. So inside in the Terenure half, the problem, of course, is that Young Munster's line-out has been so ineffective, and Mealy and Brewer have been so good at getting up and disrupting and putting pressure on Moore's throw. So Terenure will be relatively happy with it as well.
Young Munsters with the line-out as the fog comes in. Chris Moore finds O'Connor.
Sensible call there from Munsters, taking at the front, just make sure you keep possession and put Terenure under some pressure.
Young Munsters out to the touchline with Shane McCarthy. O'Sullivan, good footwork again, gets on the outside of Dooley. It's a good carry from O'Sullivan.
I think you've seen an exceptional performance from a lot of back rows today on both sides. Ron O'Sullivan been outstanding.
Lacey, wow, with a great carry again. Young Munsters. Dan Walsh struggling down here in front of us. Fleming hits Goggin, who's got Conor Phillips on his outside. Dan Goggin again. Young Munsters. Free play is the call from the Young Munsters sideline, and Kieran Barry brings us back here for a high tackle, an opportunity for Young Munsters to take 3 points as the fog is really starting to come in here. Berkey, we do see it's starting to take its toll on the Young Munsters' bodies.
It's very simple. Terenure are human. They bleed. If you put them under pressure, win your set piece, keep the ball, vary your attack. They're not all conquering. Your Munsters didn't do too much there, but to put Terenure under a lot of pressure, I did think Dan probably could have got the ball out of his hands. Hard to see from here, but again, interesting big call coming here.
Very easy from where we're all sitting and standing to give advice.
What do you do, Frolls?
to players. Dan Mooney,
you look for 3 here, Frolly.
Yeah, I'd absolutely take 3 here.
That's because you want to know about you, because you'd kick it.
Yeah. Well, I'd certainly have a go. I know, but my leg would probably.
If anyone in the
off.
Clubhouse can hear us, would you please drop us down 3 hot whiskies?
Dan Mooney, the sensible option here is to probably take 3 points as we have 20 minutes on the clock.
You take your 3. There's 28 minutes odd left in it. This is not. There's not been a huge cost to Young Munsters physically to get into position, to get a score. So get the ball back and go again.
You could see there, you were saying take 3. I was looking at the Young Munsters pack in a huddle. They weren't in taking 3. They're going to win the game. Big call, and I have to say I don't disagree with the decision.
Well, if I miss,
they haven't had a lot of possession, lads. So when they do, they're going to try to capitalise.
It's a very valid point. If I miss Luke
can't see
Lossey's
anything
try in the first half with clear vision, God help me here, but Terenure College will set up based on Owen O'Connor's calls. They've gone to the front in the last 2 lineouts, so will Terenure decide to challenge?
I have to commend both teams on putting themselves in positions that the commentary position cannot see.
Yeah.
At all times in this game.
The crowd will let us know if they score.
It's taken by Goggin on this right hand side. Terenure initially fight off the Young Munsters onslaught. Referee Barry says that's the first use. It's 15 points to 10 as Jacobs with the carry and Goggin with the carry. Terenure look to have gone off their feet in that ruck, but Kieran Barry says that's fine. The ball is at the base as Young Munsters make another carry here. They're going to be keeping it tight. Terenure looked for a turnover, but Kieran Barry is given a penalty, and they go quickly through Dan Walsh. And as Walsh gotten down, it's another hand out the back from Kieran Barry as Young Munsters here are agonisingly close. The ball is with Tom Goggin at the base of the ruck. There is space on the outside. The Lacey Wow isn't used. The hand is still out from Kieran Barry. Ronan O'Sullivan has the ball in his hand. Very difficult to see on both sides here, but patience are needed. It's a big carry there from Young Munsters, and it's a great score from George Jacobs, the sub front rower who is there
So Dan Mooney, you take the 3, do you know?
Unbelievable from Young Munsters. We spoke about Ger Burke, about Terenure having an opportunity in the 22 down in Young Munsters half, but Young Munsters taking their chances when they arise.
Initially, absolutely outstanding maul defence from Terenure. They put on a bit of an exhibition in that today. Had Young Munster gone back, but again, Young Munster's very, very patient, nothing fancy, keeping possession and just allowing the big men to get us over the game line, and eventually, that's a yellow card. That's a huge moment and a huge momentum swing. Cookies have been in there, been down the Terenure line twice probably, and they've scored twice.
Yeah, a yellow card for Terenure.
Is it Jordan Coughlin?
College? No, it's. We will bring that to you as we get it.
Adam Chute, I think.
Yeah, Adam Chute with a yellow card there. Extremely foggy here in Greenfields.
Well, you could tell there were 2 or 3 times that Young Munsters carried. They were a metre out. 2 or 3 times they've carried, and the referee, but every time he's putting his hand out. So after a couple, you have to say at a certain point there's an
Evan Cusack adds the extras and tells a couple of the Terenure players what time it is in Greenfields this evening. But Young Munsters are now. The score reads 15.
I've been very impressed with Young Munster's calmness and composure when they've got into the 22.
Yeah, 17-15 with the conversion added, and that'll reflect in the graphic as soon as we can.
A lot of rugby still to be played.
4 visits for Young Munster, 17 points. 6 visits for Terenure, 15 points. Says a lot about the defensive shift Young Munster put in.
All came from a turnover in Young Munster's 22 on the floor. Big moment. Cookies then, win a couple of set pieces, put Terenure under pressure.
As the fog really does descend, this is a Club Scene podcast and IRFU co-production. It's crystal clear on the screens here. As Harry Fleming takes the ball just short of the touchline as Terenure try and get his legs into touch. Tom Goggin does very well to hold on to that as Terenure fire off the line there with Mike Murphy.
Jordan Coughlin has got through a mountain of work today, lads. You can see he's been itching to get back playing.
Cusack finds Boomer, who has returned to the fold.
Has the legs strapped up for us.
Big shot from Dan Walsh and Harry Fleming here. The temperature has rose as Coughlin waits for the carry. Standing, hits Smith. Cusack flies off the line to Butler. Has been brilliant all afternoon. Finds a soft shoulder on the inside and carries, but he's swallowed up. And the ball does bounce out there, but Kieran Barry has said that there is hands. He has been consistent with that call all day. It may have taken 67 minutes, but maybe the cold is why the game has fired into life, but this is on a knife edge here in Greenfields. It's
phenomenal really, the amount of territory and possession that Terenure have had, but as noted on the podcast during the week, they've had bonus point wins for 7 out of 8 games. And then they showed last week the character they have against Trinity in a game where they weren't firing and weren't doing well to dig out the win. They'll be keen to replicate that again this week.
Look, I'll be honest, Terenure, in my opinion, will score before the game is out. Young Munsters will need to score again if they're going to win this game, in my opinion.
You heard it here first. Ger Burke is calling another Terenure score. It is all to play for as Callum Smith kicks it into the dense fog on the other touchline rather than in front of us. And Terenure will have this line out where McKee is there. They have everybody on the right hand side. Craig Adams lining up on Callum Smith's inside shoulder. Benny is back, but Terenure overthrow. It's Jacobs moves the ball to O'Sullivan and he hits Dan Goggin again. There's a chance here for Young Munsters. Harry Fleming has the ball. Shane McCarthy outside him with Conor Phillips. Goggin moves it. Dan Walsh very, very frantic for Young Munsters. The ball bounces back inside their own half and Boomer's in a very strong position there. And Young Munsters will look back at that, and it is an opportunity missed. And Terenure, if they would like to, I think Dooley possibly has the legs for a penalty here, but Smith shows what I know and is going to go down the line on this right hand side.
You spoke earlier in the half that the team that makes the least amount of errors will probably win the game.
Foot was on the line there from
There's
Conor
a couple
Phillips.
of big moments going Terenure's way in the last couple of minutes. Probably just needed to set up a ruck there in the middle of the park. Instead, we've tried to force it. I don't know if there was much space on to throw the pass, and now we found ourselves in our 22. Big Maul D coming here.
Boomer calls a 5-man line out for Terenure. Hannon at the front with Brewer, Melia and Boomer. Clossy at the tail. Clossy as the receiver with Murphy at the tail. They hit Boomer at the tail, but referee Kieran Barry has adjudged that to have gone crooked. And Dan Mooney, we spoke about again the crowd coming into the game. You can hear the sense of elation with every error that's being made by the opposition here.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of that puts pressure on the throwers. We talked about how Terenure throw up throwers to put pressure on Moore, but as the Terenure players are going down, Young Munster are ready with that line out, and that's showing intent, and the crowd are in the ears of the Terenure players coming down, and that's putting pressure on the throw as well. And now there is a certain amount of mental toughness required from both sides, because Young Munster have said, we've got you where we want you, you beat us, and Terenure are going to have to show, if they want to be champs, this is what they have to do, is overcome this.
Seasoned veteran Andy Keating, more affectionately known as Panda, joins the play as Conal Boomer at 8. There's a reshuffle for Terenure. Dan Goggin again lining up 10 metres outside of the scrum, directly opposite Callum Smith. Lacey Wow and Jacobs, along with Chris Moore, full-on replacements in the first half, in the front row, for Young Munsters.
All Young Munsters need here is rock solid set piece, put the ball off the park. Anything above that is a bonus, but nothing too fancy. They don't need to force the issue at scrum time.
Lyons has the ball in his hand. Alan Benny, who's been very, very good all afternoon. Kieran Barry sees no foul from either side there, and we will get a scrum reset. You can sense the tension in Greenfields.
In fairness to Kieran Barry, when the scrum has gone down on the side, he's not there. He's reset it. Very intelligent. He's not making guessing calls. He has come over to have a look. You Munsters are probably lucky that he wasn't on this side in that last hit.
Kieran Barry has changed his side. And Young Munsters, cries from the Terenure and Young Munster sides here, but Kieran Barry has stayed true to his form. He is having a chat to both sides, but you get the feeling if there are any indiscretions in the next scrum, there will be a call made.
Yeah, you feel like it's coming. He's been authoritative without being in the way as this referee. He's been very good for most of the game, but it's going to be a point where he's going to go, all right, lads, not having too much more of this. Somebody's getting whistled.
This scrum is huge.
Lyons with the ball in his hands. And much to the...
Panda's definitely won the last two hits. You want to look to close the gap there, but referee not having any of it.
A convening of conversations around the ground as to what's going on in the scrum, where nobody actually really knows. As Terenure set up again, the score reads Young Munster 17, Terenure 15, as we enter the final 10 or so minutes here in an absorbing contest in Greenfields. It's gone down again on the Young Munster side, and Kieran Barry has given the decision, to the bemusement of Terenure as they backtrack.
Huge moment in the game, Dara. Huge moment. Young Munsters will be very, very relieved to have gotten that. Panda will feel very hard done by. But nonetheless, it's Young Munsters. If they can win set piece here now, put pressure on Terenure.
Captain Brewer has been outstanding all afternoon. His race is run as Conal Boomer returns to play. Terenure making full use of their bench here as Evan Cusack's penalty finds touch just short of the Young Munsters halfway line.
Yeah, that was Lyons again, and Lyons' boot, his range when he has ticked those penalties has been phenomenal. He really has put Young Munster in position every time he's put his boot on that ball.
Jacobs gives the call to Moore. And it's Rigney. Sean Rigney has come in replacement for O'Connor, the Portumna man. Lyons with a little dink in behind. LeGroux takes it. Been really clean all afternoon with his ball. Questionable decision from Young Munsters there. Coughlin again with a big carry, met by Ronan O'Sullivan and Dan Walsh. Smith, high hanging kick to Conor Phillips inside his own half. He's going to elect to run. It's a big carry there.
that's huge out of Connor Phillips. I mean,
Phillips
it really
does
is,
very, very well as a Terenure replacement on the pitch with no number on his back if the fog wasn't already hard enough.
Lovely piece of play there. Nice tip on, nice variety.
And Lyons showing his experience there.
I'll tell you, he's
I think you're
absolutely
talking about
bought that
dark arts,
penalty.
Frawley. I think that's an example of the dark arts there, milking that. I think Young Munsters knew exactly what they were doing there. But that slight bit of variation, not just being one dimensional off 9, that tip on, lovely piece of play, gets over the gain line for Trudas.
Dan Mooney, we saw Connor Phillips have a little chat with Jack Lyons there, wondering why there was a little dink in behind. Young Munsters are really going to have to hold on to this ball and play in the right areas of the field.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about 7-8 minutes left in this, and if you're smart about it and if your tactics are right, this is where you want and like get a score if you can. But there's absolutely no rush on that. Take your time, go slow. Terenure are hungry for this, though. You know full well that they still think this game is there to be won. If they can get their hands on that ball, they can still win this one.
It's another super kick out of Jack. It's very simple. Your Munsters stay down here now as long as they can. A score is a bonus, but they stay down here.
Jack Lyons with the penalty moves Terenure back into their own 22 as Moore throws. Rigney with the take, 4 3/4 metres over the 5 metre line. The Munster maul is set as Terenure pushed them towards the touchline. Lyons has Dan Goggin on his outside. They've got Evan Cusack and Harry Fleming. Lyons foraging for the ball in this maul, and he has it, and it's in hands of Goggin, and Goggin elects for a crossfield kick. It's a lovely little kick, and it's going to be taken by Hayes, and Hayes is on the inside, and he throws it, and it's going to be McCarthy, and McCarthy, he's in. Is McCarthy in? The try is given. Yes! A wonderful try by McCarthy. Unbelievable play from Young Munsters here. Dan Goggin with a fantastic crossfield kick that nobody was expecting, well claimed by Conor Hayes, and McCarthy with an outstanding finish for Young Munsters.
Absolutely incredible piece of play there. When Dan went to drop it to kick the ball, I was kind of screaming no, but absolutely exquisite play, rugby.
Yeah, I like that the picture shows us exactly what's going on, which is a Young Munsters back row celebrating, and that's as much confirmation as we have that a try was scored.
All we need to know is that there was a try scored.
The creativity from Young Munsters there. Ger Burke was quite something else. Terenure were loading up on Dan Goggin. Perhaps their defensive line was pulled to the inside, which gave the additional space on the outside.
Very simple, Frawley. When Young Munsters' line-out has worked, they've been excellent.
Yeah, it looks like there's been a change in terms of the decision making there as well, and it's just been front, hit the front man, get set up,
Absolutely.
go from there. And of course, why overcomplicate it? If that's going to work for you and that's going to give you the platform you need to get moving, just do it.
Somewhere over in the fog, Evan Cusack lines up a conversion from the right hand side. You may hear the crowd let us know whether this one goes up. Visibility becoming very poor here, but Cusack strikes very hard with the right foot, and it's a superb strike by Cusack, and that does bring the score to Young Munsters 23, Terenure 15 here in Greenfields. With
That's
about
absolutely
6 or 7
massive
minutes to go.
because it puts it beyond 7 points.
That'll change. That'll be 24-15 very shortly, and that means outside of one score, that's a lot of work for Terenure to do with only minutes left on the clock.
They came back from the dead last week against Trinity, and Kieran Barry has said that Sean Rigney has gone off his feet there, and Terenure have an opportunity here. Will be interesting to see what option they take. Dan Mooney, as you rightly pointed out, 8 points is 2 scores, and Dooley is taking 3. They have the losing bonus point at a minimum in their head, but there will be an opportunity if this goes over to win it.
Yeah, I mean, if you need a 2-score game and you're going to be getting the ball back from the kickoff, why not take the 3, receive the ball, and see where you can go from there? As you say, losing bonus point in the bag if you get your 3, and the opportunity to go again for the win.
It's your decision.
And by the way, this is a Terenure team well capable of still winning this match.
Yes.
With minutes on the clock.
Big moments here in Greenfields, as you can hear Ger Burke shaking over the mic with the cold.
It is freezing.
Dooley lines up the penalty here. Dan Walsh being patched up. Messages coming through on both sides. It's been an absorbing, intriguing encounter thus far, as Dooley makes no mistake. And an air of hush as well as fog descends on Young Munsters as we're back to a 1-score game here. with about 4 or 5 minutes left on the clock at the discretion of Kieran Barry. Cool heads and minds needed here on both sides, and this could go either way, lads.
Well, there's 6 points in it, and as Dan said, there's plenty of belief in this Terenure side. They can play it from anywhere. This game is far from over. Your Munsters now just need to get some sort of possession, Terenure half, and trying to play the clock down.
Yeah, it's they have the capacity and the capability. There's no question about that. They're not top of the division for no reason. They're more than capable. But if you're young Munster, the job now is play the ball up in that end of the pitch. Just keep kicking it back up here. Make your territory count as best you can, and don't make any mistakes. It's
McMelia hits replacement James Thornton, who's been around the block with Terenure. They're going to go here. The hands is with De Butler, who moves it out to LeGroux, and Adams on that left-hand touchline. Terenure again working really hard to get deep in attack. They're going to have to go here, and they do. Thornton moves the ball again, and it's helter-skelter stuff. It's Clausey on the outside. He looks up, but he's got nobody outside him. Young Munster's very, very aggressive in defence there. Dan Walsh looking to get his hands on the ball, but they've got an opportunity. Alan Benny, who's been electric all afternoon, will give the ball to Dooley, who will have an opportunity to get the ball down the field. You can sense the nervousness
Huge moment
on
there.
both sides. Young Munsters
You kind of felt that Young Munsters had done enough, that Terenure would have had to exit. They'd gone touchline to touchline twice. Munsters kept him at bay. Again, unforced error. Massive lineup coming up.
McKee gets the call.
Young Munsters have to get people in the air here.
From Hannon. Murphy, Melia, Boomer and Keating complete the lineup here. It's a lovely throw jump, well taken by Boomer. McKee with a superb dart under the circumstances.
Superb lineup under pressure.
Coughlin moves it again, and Dooley, the ball is knocked on the right hand side. It looked like if the hand was kept, that Terenure could potentially have got yards up that field, but we are reaching the dying embers of the game, and Young Munsters will have a scrum to exit. The scrum, Jerburke, was not clean in the right hand corner 10 minutes ago. There is 5 points that separate the sides, and David Begley is sent on.
There's no better sight in Greenfields than seeing David Begley run towards a scrum. It's actually poetic. Yeah, look, I've seen that set piece before. You've Jordan Coughlin coming like a train in the middle of the park, gets right to the tack line and pulls out the back very late. And you have to think, if Terenure don't drop that, are they going to scoot in the corner? Huge moment, an excellent set piece and strike play move.
Donegal Callahan is on for Young Munsters. Jack Lyons has moved to 10 with Evan Cusack's shift being done for the afternoon. Dan Goggin with a couple of wise words for O'Callaghan. A couple of very good performances for Young Munster towards the tail end of last season. How were the nerves, Dan Mooney?
Yeah, I mean, this has been an enthralling game of rugby to watch. It's been, no matter what happens now, it's been a feast and outstanding. And this is still a continuation of its chess. No mistake, and that's it. Game over.
O'Callaghan with a lovely little snipe, and he dinks the ball behind, and it's going to be a line out to Terenure. And we're entering last roll of the dice time for Terenure College as we hear whistles from the Young Munsters crowd who want to get into 80s night afterwards, Ger Burke.
Yeah, looking forward to that, Frauds. I have a pair of stilettos upstairs for you. Can't see what's going on over there. A bit of handbags, it would seem.
Terenure College will have the line out. McKee goes into his line out. Marshall Melia, so experienced in this area. As we said, Terenure College managed to get a 23 points to 21 victory over Trinity last week in Lakelands. Unbeaten, 8 from 8. They will remain top at Christmas, but Cookies on course for a scalp here. Taken by Melia. Thornton hits Coughlin. Coughlin with a great carry, gets in between O'Sullivan and Walsh, and Benny switches it up to Clausey, back to Benny again. Benny moves it over to Butler. It's been incredibly impressive when he's got the ball in his hands. And Kieran Barry has given a penalty. This is not over yet, and Dooley, forcing the issue here, is going to kick long.
The instruction is very clear from the Munster sideline: leave the rucks alone, try not to give away penalties. There's some nice power plays been put together by Terenure here. Great execution under pressure, and a nervy finish.
And Dooley,
and Munsters have kept that one in.
He's kept it in.
Has not
I
found
can't
touch
believe
on that side.
That's a huge moment, and that could be the game.
The ball is still in play. Falloon with a massive carry. Young Munster's bench, hands and bated breath holding here, trying to eke down the clock here.
We can assume there's only seconds left in the way the Cookies are playing here.
Terenure looking for a turnover, and they've got it. Kieran Barry has given it, saying holding on, and Terenure will get another opportunity. Dooley, with a rare uncharacteristic miss of touch, will look to just put this into touch, and you get the feeling we might be in the last couple of minutes, but this is by no means over.
Christ. If you're going to play like that and just play off 9 to try and keep possession, to keep the ball, you have to be incredibly disciplined, not to go off feet, not to pre-latch, and to work hard on the floor. Poor from your Munsters.
My compliments to anyone watching at home who's able to actually see what's going on through all the fog. It's so hard to ascertain from where we are, but it's been enthralling from start to finish. It's been tactical, intriguing game of chess, shadow boxing at times, and there's been some great rugby played in the middle of it all, and it's coming down to the wire. And what more do you want out of a game?
It's going to be a huge finish. I put my house in the fact that Terenure are going to maul this, and you Munsters have to deal with it. Firstly, try and get pressure in the air, but in fairness, the last couple of throws from Terenure have been absolutely immaculate.
They have been on the money, as there is treatment being given out. Owen O'Connor will return to the game. Forwards coaches Ger Slattery and Mikey Madden with some words of wisdom to try and disrupt that. But Berkey, we know that Terenure will need a try to get a draw or a win out of this. He's actually...
Has he given the penalty to Munsters? He's turned it over?
Yeah. He's turned over the penalty.
I only know that because of the crowd. I have absolutely no idea what has happened or what has occurred. But the Munsters crowd are very happy. And that's the game. Yeah. Outstanding.
It's all over here.
That's a huge result for you Munsters.
In Greenfields, Terenure College beaten 23 points to 18 by Young Munsters. Dan Mooney, and the fog did come down in the second half, but what a game we have had.
Yeah, it's been an outstanding game. It's been enthralling from the start. As we pointed out, it was going to be a tight affair between the two. There was always going to be that physicality. Both teams are more than capable of bringing that, and then the bit of expansive rugby when it was needed. The Young Munsters didn't really use it outside of that super off the cuff play. Dan Goggin with a huge cross-field kick. Other than that, it's been relatively but what you'd expect. Keep it tight, keep it heavy, and go with the attacks in the pack.
Berkey, the game itself, in the first half we saw Terenure rip into a lead. Young Munsters coming back in, but the second half right up there with some of the best stuff we've seen in the Energy All-Ireland League this year.
Absolutely. Again, for the purists, when set piece was working for both sides, they both experienced periods of dominance. Both sides, very, very clinical in the other side's 22. Just an enthralling game. A couple of big moments along the way that you could probably pinpoint that the game turned either which direction.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at those, hindsight is 20/20 and all that, and there's not much value in terms of analysis in looking at things like what would have happened if this and what could have happened had that done. But there are a couple of standout moments. I think Young Munster getting up into the air and spoiling a 5 metre line, attacking Maline out for Terenure is massive, particularly to go down the far end and score a try within minutes of it. There's a huge telling moment in the course of this game.
Owen O'Connor steals the line at the start of the second half and he wants 22, and if he doesn't, I think they probably go on to win with a bonus by Terenure. The scrum penalty there, fortuitous is how I would describe it for Young Munsters, but clinical then afterwards.
Berkey, you spoke during the week about we saw with Trinity that Terenure can bleed. Huge credit must go to Young Munsters there. There was an opportunity there. We spoke at half time. If Terenure did get the next score, you were looking at a 19-3 scoreline, and Young Munsters did get back into the game. It sets the league up very, very well for Christmas. We will have the league tables to come in just a few moments' time, but these two sides will meet again in January, which will double up as a Bateman semi-final. Clontarf are still in the mix, and Trinity are in the mix. Division 1A of the Energy All-Ireland League, as well as Con and other teams. It's going to be a hell of a battle.
Well, I think you can tell from the finish there, a couple of words exchanged towards the end. It's going to be a tasty affair in Lakelands in a couple of weeks' time.
It's worth pointing out about the league. last season, maybe the season before, there was a little bit of, I don't want to call it predictable, but there was a little hint of we can all kind of predict who's going to be the top three. Maybe there'll be a guest for the top four, a bit of a mystery. But largely speaking, it was predictable enough. This season has thrown up some absolutely outstanding results, some surprising results, and now we're reaching Christmas time with 6-7 teams in the hunt, potentially for a top four spot.
The calibre of rugby being played is what's impressed me most. The highlights. There's been just the first half of the season has been outstanding, and it's just I can't wait to see what comes in the new year. Terenure will come back stronger from this, but absolute massive momentum for Munsters. This time last year we were a tired squad. They've now just won 4 in a row, including Tarf, including Terenure, including Trinity, and momentum is with them heading into the new year.
Yeah, I think it's telling. There's a bit of a break coming for Terenure now in terms of this Christmas time. Now they're done. You almost just have a senior cup to play, so the opportunity for Terenure now is to regroup, regather. As you talked about it in the podcast during the week, 45 players turning up for first team training. It's a huge squad, and they show all the signs of a very together squad, a very unified squad. They will bounce back. But for Young Munster, a week out from a senior cup
there's a couple of pivotal moments in the second half that Terenure will be able to pinpoint as to why they probably came out on the wrong side of that result, but they're going to come back stronger from this.
Indeed, they will. We will get to the other games, but just an update from Division 1A of the Men's Energia All-Ireland League. The standings as we head towards the Christmas break. Terenure College do sit top, their first defeat coming at the hands of Young Munsters. They're on 40 points. Clontarf have closed the gap to 3 points after their bonus point win today, 36 points to 10. They beat Garryowen and Castle Avenue. Dublin University and Cork Constitution make up the top 4. Young Munsters climb to 5th, 1 point behind Cork Constitution, who they meet here next week on December 17th in the Munster Senior Cup semi-final. Ballynahinch in 6th on 20 points, UCD in 7th, Lansdowne in 8th, and Shannon and Garryowen in 9th and 10th. A whole host of games called off today, as you will see from the screen. Terenure College will finish top at Christmas. Moving to Division 1B of the Energia All-Ireland League, Bucks will finish top in 1B at Christmas of the Energia All-Ireland League on 34 points. City of Armagh next in second, St Mary's College in third, and Highfield move back into the top 4 position to which they've become so accustomed to over the last number of seasons. Wesley and Old Belvedere, the Dublin duo, make up 5th and 6th, and UCC, Naas, Banbridge and Malone facing 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. As we have said, there have been a whole host of games called off, 14 in total due to the inclement weather across the country of Ireland today. Perfect mulled wine. Whether if you ask Dan Mooney or Joe Burke, who are angling at me to get these league tables done very, very quickly. In Division 2A of the Energia All-Ireland League, only one game played there this afternoon. Old Crescent were victors against Dolphin in Musgrave Park. A tantalising game there, 30 points to 28. Blackrock College will finish top. Queen's University in second. Cashel and Barnhall make up the top 4. Navan and Old Crescent next in 5th and 6th. Nina and Ballymena 7th and 8th, and Dolphin and the UL Bohemians occupy the relegation playoff spot and automatic relegation slot there. In Division 2B of the Energia All-Ireland League, Greystones 9 from 9, the only unbeaten side apart from Instonians, are top of the table. Corinthians also hot on their heels in second with Dungannon and Wanderers. Belfast Harlequins and Rainey Old Boys, the two Ulster teams, in 5th and 6th. Sligo and Malahide follow them, with Galwegians, who got their maiden win of the Energia All-Ireland League, sit in the relegation playoff spot, and Enniscorthy will be bottom for Christmas but showing signs of improvement. In Division 2C of the Energia All-Ireland League, Instonians remain unbeaten at the top of the table, 45 points, 9 try bonus points resounding after their return from Junior League in Ulster. Tullamore all will be happy in Spallinstown as they sit in second. Skerries and Clonmel make up the top 4. What an achievement for Clonmel after their win in Ardguia. Bangor and Bruff in 5th and 6th. Middleton and Omagh come next, and Sunday as well, and Ballina are 9th and 10th in Division 2C of the Energia All-Ireland League. As we said, the Women's Energia All-Ireland League final was called off yesterday, but it is fixed for December 17th for a 2 p.m. kick-off in Energia Park, a game that will be broadcast live on TG Card. The rescheduled date for the Energia All-Ireland League fixtures that were cancelled today will be next week, the 17th of December, so do keep an eye out on Irish Rugby's channels over the course of the week. And
means another podcast for you guys as well.
Yes,
so,
there will be a review. There will be a review of the Club Scene podcast.
There won't be much if we don't get out of the cold for
on Tuesday. And with that is an end to the broadcast this evening. This has been a Club Scene podcast production, co-produced by the IRFU. My thanks to Mr. Dan Mooney and Ger Burke. I've been Darragh Frawley. Thanks to Raf, Kieran and Reese back at base, and Ross O'Donoghue, who has been on the Google Sheets frantically. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope to see you after Christmas, and have a very Merry Christmas from all of us here at the Club Scene podcast. Channel 1 in the scrum. Benny.
Rock solid scrum
Straight
again.
to Dooley, out the back to Smith. It's Legrue, little dink in behind. The ball is bouncing. It's there. And Terenure, they're in. Terenure have scored a wonderful try. Right-footed strike. It's a superb strike from Dooley, and it just kisses the out. We're in the second row. Used to play in the centre and the wide flanks.
Fantastic collision from Alan Kennedy.
This is just the way this game is shaping up, and
Absolutely beautiful execution there. Throw comes first when that happens. As
chase on here between Connor Phillips and Hayes. Oh. The game sparks into life there, Dan Mooney. First line out goes askew, and it's McNulty on the charge. Move Adam, he's got around McCarthy. Adams, Connor Hayes looks to bring him down. He's 3 metres short of the line here. Terenure with an opportunity. Hayes looks to bring him down. He's 3 metres short of the line here. Terenure with an opportunity. Quick ball is going to be needed. Brewer forks it out. Cusack, Legrue, and they've moved it out, and it's going to be a try here for Terenure College.
Able to play in the back row, but he is a line-out option down now with Dan Walsh, not obviously being the 6'2" stature of Alan Kennedy.
It's Craig Adams, the try scorer, one-on-one with Tom Goggin. Goggin slips off the tackle, and it's Adams again, and he throws the ball inside. Terenure, a bounce. And Jack Lyons, and it's Legrue again, and Legrue is an opportunity. It's well fielded by Connor Phillips on the right hand side. It is a collective. To be very careful to look after the ball as Terenure are looking to get over it on the breakdown. It slows down. Ball is in the hands of O'Sullivan, and it's a score for Young Munsters on the right hand side, just inside the 15-metre line on the right hand side. Goes through his routine, strikes it well. Said prop for Terenure College. Brewer wants to move it. Smith with a little dink over the top, and Dan Walsh right in front of Kieran Barry. It's good. Carries back after Cusack's 22 clearance. Brewer moves it back. Smith, lovely little show and go on the inside. He has been brilliant all out. It's Dooley with an opportunity. The ball is loose, and it is just about touchdown. Hands on head as Hannon picks and goes. Terenure, you feel here, upping the ante. But Young Munsters get over the ball, and you just get more. The ball is not clean, and it goes, and it's well taken by Terenure. Wonderful carry by right-legged. Lands the penalty, and Terenure isn't used. The hand is still out from Kieran Barry. Ronan O'Sullivan has the ball in his hand. Very difficult to see on both sides here, but patience are needed. It's a big carry there from Young Munsters, and it's a great score from George. Dan Walsh, very, very frantic for Young Munsters. The ball bounces back inside their own half, and Boomer's in a very strong position there. It's gone down again on the Young Munsters side, and Kieran Barry.
Oh, nice variety.
And Lyons showing his experience. Has it, and it's in hands of Goggin, and Goggin elects for a crossfield kick. It's a lovely little kick, and it's going to be taken by Hayes. And Hayes is on the inside, and he throws it, and it's going to be McCarthy. And McCarthy, he's in. Is McCarthy in? The try is given. Ability becoming very poor here, but Cusack strikes very hard with the right foot, and it's a superb strike by Cusack. And that both sides, it's been an absorbing, intriguing encounter thus far, as Dooley makes no mistake.